special event here in iRacing with over 340 entries. And tonight we start the paring down process to get this field set. The top 11 from each one of these elimination races will move on, and everyone from 12th on back, unfortunately, will see their hopes and dreams come to an end. My name is David Schildhouse, and I am joined at the booth tonight by the two main organizers of this great event, Landon Cassill and Parker Kligerman. And Parker, we'll start with you. Special events, and for those tuning in and wondering what exactly they're watching here, tell us how this all came together.
Well, it's the brainchild of really Landon and all, a group of us that came together and said we want to make huge events in iRacing, and Landon wanted to do this Firecracker 400. He saw the 87 cars coming out and decided, hey, this looks like something we should do, a really marquee event with these cars. And then the wheels started turning, the motion came together, and suddenly we were like, all right, let's make it a huge prize pool. Let's get as many people as we can. And now it's basically the largest independent iRacing event ever. So a $12,500 prize pool. As you said, 344 entries. They're going to be vying for 88 spots. And to get to qualify for the Firecracker 200 and then the 400. And basically just a huge event overall. It's going to be very tough to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Parker, I mean, this whole thing, we like big events. I think that's what we wanted to do, and we liked format. We wanted to see that kind of funneling of of a large entry pool down to a narrow field that doesn't just favor the fastest iRacers. This isn't just for the pro drivers and the Coca-Cola Series drivers. This is for everyone. There's going to be a lot of luck involved tonight. There's going to be a lot of attrition tonight and tomorrow. We're going to see a lot of cautions, a lot of wrecks. And there's going to be some fast guys that make it in, but there's going to be some underdog stories that come as well.
Absolutely, and something that both of you are familiar with as well, and I think that's what we all love about you guys is the real world experience, the underdog experience that you guys can speak to so well also with your real world aspirations and pursuits in NASCAR. So for you guys in particular, I imagine it'll be fun to see some of those underdog stories play out here over the next two nights as we have 4 races each night. 4 races tonight, 4 tomorrow, to take those 344 drivers and cut out a whole bunch of them and send 88 on to the final qualifying procedures for the Firecracker 200 and then eventually the Firecracker 400, which will take place on July 1st. So, Landon, to bounce it back to you, a historian, I know you love your trivia and your NASCAR history. The Firecracker 400 rings true as one of the true traditions in NASCAR. So why did that stand out to you? Why was this the event that you wanted to put on?
A lot of it was timing, David. The timing was perfect with the 1987, the new 1987 car coming out on iRacing so recently. I think the fan base is in a thirst for a holiday race, Parker, a 4th of July weekend. So having this thing in the middle of the week, July 1st at night is going to be a great time for everybody to finish off the barbecue, crack a cold one, and tune in to Twitch or Facebook, wherever you're tuning in from. We're on a lot of different channels right now. Shout out to iRacing Facebook for carrying us. Big Green Egg, Blue Emu has got us right now. We're kind of all over, and we've got a lot of content, a lot of broadcasting. So it just seems like a tradition that needed to carry on. So what better place to do it than in the digital world?
One cool thing to add we haven't really talked about is we have some big names from the real world that are attempting this event. None other than 2-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch will be racing tonight. Denny Hamlin, Ron Capps, Kevin Hamlin, the spotter for the NASCAR world, Ed Carpenter, the IndyCar driver and owner. So it's attracted some of the real world drivers as well because they saw this as a cool event that we were putting on. They saw the prize pool, the fanfare around it, and the Firecracker 400, as you said, it's a very nostalgic race. It holds a place in everyone's heart as one of those preeminent NASCAR great races, and so we had the perfect opportunity to do it this old car, and we've really gotten a lot of interest. But I think the coolest thing is we're going to see someone that maybe has only a couple hundred iRating going up against Kyle Busch and up against eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing drivers that are the best of the best in iRacing. So it's going to be a great cross section throughout the field.
That's a great point as well. The vast skill gap amongst the 344 entrants for this event. We have them from the Cup level. We've got them from the NASCAR Xfinity level, the Gander and RV Outdoor Truck Series, as well as from everyone in the iRacing world who isn't a professional stock car driver. The eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series on down. So again, with Daytona being the great equalizer, these cars are a handful. Anyone who's driven this car yet in the iRacing service, now that's been out for a few weeks, you know this is not a very easy car to drive. It's a much different experience than your traditional Cup Series car right now if you hopped onto the service. So that's an additional layer of complexity these drivers are going to have to contend with. These cars are not stuck to the track. They are not like driving a slot car, and you will see them bob and weave and moving around, approaching speeds over 215 miles an hour down the straightaways into these corners. And with the tire model that they have, they're going to be leaning really hard. We have seen drivers lose control. Some of the best drivers on the iRacing service have been struggling to get come to grips with this car. So again, with 40 minutes or 40 laps being the template for each one of the races you're going to see here tonight and tomorrow, remember, it's laps or time, whichever comes first. These drivers are absolutely going to have their hands full. And if you're outside of that top 11, Landon, I imagine the drivers who fit that description are going to be very, very desperate to find their way to the front. But with that being said, qualifying's come to a conclusion. We're ready to kick off our very first race of 4 tonight. So let's take a look at the starting lineup. The man leading them to the pole will be Aaron Smith in that number 70 machine. To his outside on the front row will be Christian Peterson. Definitely two names to keep an eye on there. Michael Conti from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series lines up in third, with fellow competitor in that series, Nathan Lyon, who's outside in fourth. Justin Lisenby of Burton Kligerman Esports will go off from the fifth position. David Van Glebecki will come from sixth. Colton Salick in seventh. Nathan Rabidou in eighth. Craig Arvantis in ninth. And Bobby Rafferty in 10th, Parker.
Yeah, you got Kevin Hamlin, the spotter from NASCAR, there in row 6. Joe Thompson as well, 3,300 iRating, sort of in the middle there of the average. Scott Cordier, who had the most incredible pre-race picture with himself posed next to his car. Rod Merritt Jr. in row 8, Mitch Rollo, Aaron Rimmon, Andrew Tate II, Trevor Perry from Burton Kligerman Esports fame there, 5,600 iRating as well, Landon. So a very big cross-section of iRatings throughout this first 9 rows of the field already.
Yeah, a lot of competitive drivers. And Trevor is driving a trans service car, one of our sponsors of the event. We've got Donald Hickson in the field here, Nick Holland, row 11, Tommy Gossett with a 3,200 iRating, and Wes Weigland with a 1458 outside of row 12. Let's not forget, though, inside of row 12, we have Anthony Alfredo, NASCAR driver, who does have a 4,200 iRating. We've got Jake Hoonshell, Justin, why am I trying to read this one? Justin Tunushayan. By the way, let me remind you guys, we have 344 competitors signed up, and Parker and I have been trying to memorize all of them, including Jacob Lee Sabin, Michael Sturgill, and Brian Boris Cook from JGR is here with us as well, Parker.
Yeah, you got Harley Simpson outside of row 15, and I'm with you, but I think that's the unlike a normal broadcast.
That's part of the show.
Yeah, 344 entries, almost impossible to remember all these names. Doug Heveron, Christopher McKeedon, Joel Steuben, Taylor Peacock, Ryan Battle, and Alan Space back there, and then Aaron Roofs. I mean, maybe you should take this away, David, for these last couple.
Yeah, I got you. Jacob Fisher in 38th, Dalton Hayes 39th, Taylor Larson in 40th, and Robert Rorich will round out the 41-car field. So again, a huge field, 41 cars strong, the top 11. That is all that matters here tonight, and we will definitely have a camera or two trained on that transfer spot. We got a lot of camera angles all around the Daytona International Speedway, and a huge shout-out to everybody involved here in this production. It takes an absolute team to make something like this happen, and we really appreciate everyone who is volunteering and giving their time to us to allow to get all these great camera angles. We got one on the flagman Barney, we've got battle cams, we've got the transfer spot cam, we've got onboard cams. We have got you covered tonight from every angle possible as these drivers work along through the banking, getting ready to get this first of 4 races tonight fired up. And I can only imagine the nerves in the stomachs of some of these drivers, but all that really matters is we're about to throw our first green flag of the night. Pace car makes the hard left-hand turn onto pit road. Field in the hands of Aaron Smith, and we're underway from Daytona International Speedway for the first INFRA Challenge 100. 11 drivers are going to find their dream come true here tonight for the first time down to turn one side by side, Parker.
Yeah, you see them 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. That's going to be a theme throughout the night, especially before the tires start to wear off a little bit. That's when these cars start to really lose their handling. Actually, Kyle Busch was texting me earlier today saying, man, these things are a handful, and they really are. They move around a ton. The aerodynamics move them around a little bit, and they're going so fast. They'll approach over 200 miles an hour as they get off into turn 3 here, Landon.
Yeah, high speeds down into turn 3. The car gets really light into this corner, especially after about 5 laps on tires. We're looking at Christian Peterson leading the way here. After about 5-6 laps on tires, the car's going to get really loose. The caution is out.
We got a big one. We got a big one, boys, here off the banking in turns 1 and 2. Or I'm sorry, in 3 and 4. And it looks like it's going to be Joel Steuben was involved. Michael Sturgill involved as well. But it looks like it all started with the number 6, painted up as an 88, but the number 6 of Wes Weigand going into 3, let that car just get up into the wall a little bit, and unfortunately for Sturgill, nowhere to go except into the back of him, turns Sturgill down the track directly into the path of Joel Steuben, and that spins him around on the banking. Also involved is going to be the 43 of Ryan Battle. He sustained some damage as a few others slide through. Add one more name to the list, Alan Space in the 889 as well. So about 5 or 6 cars involved in this one, Parker. And you were talking about Kyle Busch, one of the best, if not the best in the world at stock cars, saying how difficult this is. We saw our first example there.
Right, and this is a good time to bring up. There's only one reset, so for those drivers that got enough damage to have to take that reset, they're now not only at the back of the field, but they're probably using that one reset, and therefore they got no safety net after that. So from then on out, they've got to race cleanly if they want to have a shot at the top 11 come the last lap of this race. And that's going to be tricky, to drive through all these cars. I assume many of the leaders, maybe in the top half of the field, will not pit at all during this race with these cautions. So you're definitely going to have to work your way through under green flag conditions, which is going to be incredibly tough.
I mean, it's that one reset is definitely tough. And we found in a lot of practice races that second half of the field is where a lot of the cautions come from. These drivers trying to get to the front, trying to get to that top 11. Is we actually have Kevin Hamlin from NASCAR spotter driving in the transfer spot. That's where they're going for. These guys are trying to get to that 11th place spot. Those accidents come from that second half of the field. It's definitely tough on these drivers.
We look back from Christian Peterson at the rest of the field as the pace car is currently out front leading this thing. CP took the lead on the high side, Parker. We saw it there, the high side. I think throughout this entire week of practice, we have noted how good it is to be out there, especially if you have a good pusher. And for CP, he's one of the best when it comes to this style of racing. So comfortable on the super speedways in particular. I mean, he's a very accomplished driver in many, many disciplines. But when it comes to super speedways like Daytona, he really does shine here. He took that lead away quickly. And I think if I'm going to have to point my finger at a favorite in this entire field, it's probably going to be him.
Which is incredible. Yeah, well, I'm sorry to cut you off, Lane, but you have 2 NASCAR drivers right there with him in terms of Nathan Lyon and Michael Conti. So, I mean, for Christian Peterson to hold them off and to get the advantage on them early on, that's a big deal for someone that's not in the NASCAR series.
Yeah, and Christian Parker, at a 6,100 I rating, you've got Nathan Lyon in second. Even though he's a world championship driver, he's got a 6,600. Obviously, Michael Conti, world championship driver with 8,665. The average I rating for pretty much every single prelim race here is about 3,000. We've got a 3,000 average I rating over 344 entries. And one stat that I've really been obsessing over that I love, we're taking the top 88 drivers to the next stage, right? The top 11 out of 8 heat races, that's 88 drivers. If you took the top 88 I ratings of our entry list, the average I rating there is over 5,700. It's actually more around 5,800 I rating. So just to get in this top 11, doesn't matter if we're pacing. I mean, there's going to be a lot of pacing tonight. There's going to be a lot of wrecks. There's going to be a lot of attrition and unpredictable results. There's going to be a lot of underdog stories that come out of that.
A good point. I mean, this race really can go to anybody. I rating does not matter when it comes to this style of racing. It really I think that's the other draw, and that's why there was such a large turnout for this event, because maybe some of the more skill-based tracks where the draft doesn't play in, you're not going to get that big of a turnout. So to see this many drivers turn up, but so many from the top end of the iRating spectrum, really does say a lot about what it means to run in a special event. We've seen a lot of these big names in other special events throughout the iRacing world, whether it's an oval or on the roadside, rallycross as well. But here at Daytona in the 1987 cars, these drivers want to do this. This is, I mean, Parker, let's be honest, $12,500. That's a pretty good little motivator as well.
It is. I mean, look, $2,000 if you win the Firecracker 400 in 3 weeks from now, basically, that's an incredible payout. For a $25 entry fee, $100 just to start the Firecracker 400. We also have the Firecracker 200, which pays $500 to win, and dead last in that will pay $25. So this is, I think we're about to get the green flag back here as the pace car is going to pull in, but definitely a huge event in the payout wise.
All right, green flag back in the air. Christian Peterson underway, getting a nice little bump from behind from Nathan Lyon there in second. Single file restarts throughout this whole event. You will see that. Don't see the traditional double wide restarts like you see in the current series. So it'll be single file restarts. Up to 3 cars that are a lap down on the inside will be allowed. So up through the gears they go, and just that quickly, caution flies again as they're piling them up in 1 and 2. The same grouping of cars, a few others as well. Taylor Larson upside down. Dalton Hayes involved. Ryan Battle again. Robert Rorich, Alan Space, Wes Weigand again. A couple more cars scattering through the grass, and I'm looking at this thing, Landon, it looks like there was a separation on the restart, and then Robert Rorich in the 35 just, again, loses the right side of the car up into the wall, and unfortunately for everyone behind him, nowhere to go.
Well, that's why we put a time limit on these races, David. And it's tough when you put on these events, whether to do an iRacing caution or a manual caution. We wanted to kind of take our self out of it and make sure that the show is fair for everybody, give everybody a chance. But you guys got to get to the green. They got to get going. And as you can see, that accordion with these single file restarts as they're piling into each other there in 1 and 2, that accordion from single file restarts is very tough to anticipate. It's a little bit different than the double file restarts that we use in the modern day. In 1987, it was single file. The lap cars could pull up to the bottom, but a line of 40 cars, just because the light comes on and you see the leader go, it doesn't mean that you can go. You really have to anticipate those 5, 6, 7 cars in front of you and not have too much of a closing rate.
It's the tough part.
Tough deal there, Parker.
It is, because, Landon said it best. You hear green flag out. You see that it's a green flag. You're seeing the leader go, and so you're trying to jump on the throttle and go because you obviously don't want to let them get away. You want to be a part of that draft. Maybe you're trying to get a little bit of a run, but then it just becomes very apparent that you can't go because you're 35 cars back from the leader when you're all the way at the back of the pack. So that's a tough deal. It's something that, is just a product of this, this kind of restart style. But I think, the other side of this is those guys that are in the back there now have been in 2 wrecks. They've lost their reset. They're probably done. So that will start to trim this field, and hopefully we can get some green flag running. But, that's just the part of this event that Landon, said well, which is we want to kind of take ourselves out of that decision process this early in the event. We don't want to, this many entries and this many people trying to make it through. It just felt most fair to, leave it in the hands of iRacing. And so, the cautions might be a little frequent, but hopefully we can get some clean green racing here soon.
Yeah, I mean, we still have Kevin Hamlin in P11. He is in that Trans-Service transfer spot. But you can come from the back even with all these cautions. You can start at the tail, stay out of trouble, as long as you don't have to use up that reset. And obviously, once we move on to the Firecracker 200 and the Firecracker 400, there will be no resets, and it's a 400-mile race, so much less cautions in that one for sure.
Well, that's what we're going to hope for, and that's a good point about the quick repairs probably getting used up at this point. That's always the thing you have to you really have to make that determination how bad the damage is. And I think I only have a little bit of experience in these cars myself, but I think that the damage model is a little more forgiving. with these bodies and the way that they've constructed them, you can still get away with a little bit of damage around the car. But sometimes you take that really big hit and you can't continue. You got to take that reset. And then once you've already taken that reset, Landon, you're really in a disadvantaged position. It's really almost a safety net at that point to still have it if you're late in the going. But traditionally, you would say, well, if you're taking your quick repair, that means you've already pitted and you're in the back anyway. So you really have to get desperate, which makes it tougher when you don't have that safety net. So as a driver who's had to use a quick repair early, let's say, and then has to drive back up through the field, when you're under yellow, your options are pretty limited. What do you have to do? You have to go full out, right?
I mean, I don't think so. Not quite. I feel like, first of all, you can pass 5 cars in 1 lap here with these closing rates under green, especially if you get a good run on a restart, get a good run off a turn 2. I think even if you have to use your reset early on, that's even more reason to just hang out. Even if you're in 25th, just hang out. Make sure you get a good restart, and that's it. You need to have at least a 7 to 8 tenth of a second gap or less to the car in front of you. If it's 9 tenths of a second or a second, then you're going to start losing the draft. So you don't want to lose the draft. But as long as you're within that, 7 tenths of a second, Parker, you're going to be able to close up to the field when you need to, and just keep it in one piece.
Yeah, I think that's, I was talking to some drivers earlier before this, and I said to all of them, I was like, look, the way the draft is in these cars, if I restart with 2 laps to go in 18th, I'm pretty confident I can find myself in the top 11 by the end of the last lap. I was like, so you don't need to go that hard. The draft is so large, the tire fall off is so large. Getting everything on that restart just doesn't make much sense to me. So hopefully some of the drivers are taking that to heart. They're actually listening to some of my advice, and we can get some green flag racing here.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Remains to be seen. You're asking a lot of sim racers to show patience, but we get ready for our next restart here. It'll be Christian Peterson, Nathan Lyon, Aaron Smith, Michael Conti, and Justin Lisenby. Your top 5 as pace car pulls off again, and once again we get another big green flag back in the air as we start lap number 9. And I do imagine this race will probably fall into the more by time than laps category unless we can get a good green flag run here. But everyone getting up through the gears, Parker. You see some of these runs going, but perhaps a little more patience this time around.
A little bit. They're staying single file. You didn't see many get 2x2x2, especially in the back. That's where we got to watch out for some of those wrecks. That's where it's been happening early on. But the leaders seem to be definitely using some patience here, just riding the draft. You're not seeing them poke out of line or try to take the runs, and they'll continue to get up to speed as they go all the way through 3 and 4, and won't be up to full speed till probably coming out of turn 4 and onto the front stretch, because these cars just take that long to wind up, Landon. But then when they do, you're flying well over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's funny to think that you can go 200, 220 miles an hour in these cars, but it's really just because there's no drag on them. There's no spoiler. There's no downforce. They don't have the horsepower that the modern day cars have, so you don't spin the tires on the restart. You don't buzz them out of the pits. As we ride along here with Justin Lisenby, currently in 5th, as we caught a car up in the fence up in turn 2. Ooh. Big wreck, big damage, upside down off of turn 2. It's like 3 or 4 cars. The caution is out.
Scott Portier's in there.
Donald Hickson is in it. Christopher McKeithen.
Oh, man. Big mess. Big mess.
My man, Justin Tudashian. I think I said that right.
I think you got it right that one. Yeah, I think you got it that time. There you go. There you go. But yeah, this is a big mess. This is going to take out a huge amount of cars here. Once we get to that replay, we'll show you soon. But it was a big one. Probably right in the middle of the pack, just outside the top 10, really, where it looked like it started. So we get the replay going off into turn 1. Yeah, you see that. Oh, man. Just got shoved down to the bottom, then flew up in front of the field, and then all sorts of cars started coming in there as they're trying to slow down, trying to avoid the flipping cars. Were unable to do so, and it collected at least 5, 6, 7 cars.
That started with the, as you said, the number 32. It's painted up to look like a 3, but the 32 of Scott Coutier just losing it by himself, loose on the bottom there. Not really a whole lot of pressure from behind from Aaron Ramon, but Scott loses it going into the corner, overcorrects up into the wall, trying to save it, and again, right into the path of so many cars, and they just keep wrecking them all over that entirety of turns 1 and 2 there. Scott went for a wild ride. Barrel rolling off the banking, but a number of cars involved there. Another tough break, but Parker, when you have an incident break out that far up into the field and he comes back up into the groove, you know you're going to take a whole lot of cars with him.
It's tough. I mean, there's no way to avoid that. When a car goes off, there, it's going to, by the law of physics, going to find itself coming back up into the track, which is always hard to predict where it's going to end up, always hard to avoid. You know what, Landon, I'm thinking here, we might want to check in with the chat, at least on Twitch, see what's going on in that realm. Maybe if we can check out some of the quick chats, see what the viewers are thinking, if they got any suggestions for these drivers, how they can keep it a little bit more green out there longer. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, we do have a timer, Radical. There is a timer. It's 40 minutes, and we're about 19 minutes into this race, or a little less than 19 minutes into this race. So they do want to know if there's a timer. They want to know, what's it going to take to get a couple laps in? How many resets? There's one reset here. I want to know if there's anybody that's competing in the upcoming races, if they're learning anything here. I mean, do you feel like? Is there anything to learn from this field? And is it going to change the way you plan on racing? I don't know. Parker, if you were in a race coming up, qualify up front. Well, that's what I told Kyle Busch earlier today. I gave him a call and I just said, look, you need to run around some cars, figure out where your nose is at, first of all, because these cars, the depth perception is a little bit different than it feels like to me, at least, than the Cup cars. So figure out where your nose is at. Don't run the second and third lane off of the corners because you'll get tight, you'll hit the fence. You gotta be very careful. And if you hit the fence, don't drive through it. You gotta lift. Just let out of the gas, save the car. But work on qualifying. Just get an upfront starting position, get that track position, and just keep it up there. There's gonna be a lot of cautions, and you should be fine. As we're on the Trans-Service transfer cam right now, that's Trevor Perry driving the Trans-Service Chevrolet. In the Trans-Service transfer spot. So hopefully we can see Trevor advance through to next week.
Love that. That'd be awesome. And I think we should let the chat know, we're going to try and chime in here all the time. So, please send in questions, comments, suggestions, how to pronounce names. Landon and I could definitely use that. Shieldhouse is fine there, but we'll take it, especially as we continue to get these cautions, which hopefully we can get some green flag racing here soon. I know it keeps saying it, but I feel like if I just keep wishing it into existence, it'll eventually happen here soon.
You would think so. That hopefully will be the way. And, we will do our best to get the names pronounced correctly. I'll do my best. And listen, as somebody who doesn't have the easiest last name, let's be honest, I'm used to it. So if I get it wrong, or if any of us get it wrong, we apologize. And if you make it into next week's qualifying or the main events, and we haven't pronounced your name correctly up to this point, feel free to drop a message on the eRacer Discord or my Discord or Landon's or Parker's Discords or on social media. Get a hold of us one way or another and let us know if we've been mispronouncing your name, how to correctly pronounce it so we get it right for the main event. That will certainly be a very important thing to do, as the lights have gone out atop the pace car and the field works into turn 3. Looking for another restart. Christian Peterson still out front. Nathan Lyon, Aaron Smith, Michael Conti, Justin Lisenby, the top 5. Colton Salick, Craig I'm going to get this right. Craig Arvanitas. That's it. Arvanitas in 7th. Bobby Rafferty 8th. Nathan Rabideau in 9th. Kevin Hamlin 10th. Trevor Perry, we talked about him in that transfer spot in 11th. Mitch Rollo in 12th, just outside of that there. As the field's looking ahead for another big green egg, green flag coming up here to start lap number 14 as the time is clicking away. So as this is going to come down to a timed event, got to get those positions. But again, a little bit of patience will go a long way as the green flag is out. Back up through the gears they go, single file. First one poking out a line as they all shoot to the bottom. It's like a game of get there first, Parker. Get down to that yellow line on the inside. Everyone doing that pretty much for the first top 10 spots.
And if we do get some green flag racing here, just a little bit things of note. The 21st on back all pitted during that caution, so they have newer tires than these leaders, although it's just been a couple laps of green. That can make a bit of a difference if we go green for a while here. Single file at the front, it's a bit further back, just outside the top 10. They're starting to get 2x2s. They go off into 3, and we've got that awesome Trans-Service transfer spot cam, Landon, watching Trevor Perry back there in 11th, holding on to that transfer spot.
Trevor Perry is got a lot of experience, a lot of iRating in iRacing. He's one that is definitely going to just race patiently, but how can you race patiently, Parker, if you're in the transfer spot? You don't know if you can trust the guys behind you or not, would you?
Well, I think the worst spot's probably 10th, because you know that you're basically being hounded by 11th, because there's no way they want to ride in 11th, you know, being vulnerable to falling to 12th at any time. So 10th could definitely be a nerve-wracking spot. I don't think you're really safe till you get solidly in that top 10, and then you can sort of just ride, as we ride on board here of Colton Salick, looking at that Ventrac car. That's Justin Lisenby. He's up to 5th place. We're right here in 6th right now. You can see how much these cars move around and bounce. The sparks come off them running here at Legacy Daytona before it was repaved. Pretty awesome to watch these cars bounce around.
I'm looking at the battle for that transfer spot between Mitch Rollo and Trevor Perry. Rollo up on the top side trying to make it work by himself, and he's making some inroads out there. You can make that high side work. He doesn't have any draft help per se. Trevor Perry's got all the draft help down the straightaways, but oh, look at this. Kevin Hamlin a little offline out of 2. He's going to lose those 2 spots down below the yellow line. We'll cede those positions, so put Rollo and Perry back into those spots. Up into the top 11, Kevin Hamlin will drop out, Landon.
Yeah, Kevin Hamlin just little bit of a slip up. You really don't want to give up the bottom, but you can get big runs off the top. Is that transfer spot? A lot of stress around 11th right now, back on that transfer cam.
And Landon,
for Kevin Hamlin, Rich Rollo.
Yeah, and Trevor Perry just got super loose out of turn 4 there. Got completely sideways, held on to it. It was awesome to watch. Kept it together, but you saw Kevin Hamlin go below the yellow line. That's one thing to note. There is no yellow line rule here. This is just like the rules from 1987. So if you want to make a pass, you can dive below that yellow line. But a lot of drivers just staying smart for now, not going below there, because it definitely is a risky thing to do before you get in the banking.
Important to note, the top 13 cars have broken away. There's a huge gap of about 2 seconds between 13th place Aaron Ramon and 14th place Nick Holland. So 2 groups have really broken out here. As one car, Aaron Ramon, way out of shape, is going to go down through the grass in the infield. Don't bring it back up on the track, Aaron. Whatever you do, he's doing a great job. Unfortunate. Breaking out from that top group, that's really going to hurt his chances here. He's going to need a yellow if he's going to get back into this thing, but that's one less car in that lead group. And unfortunately for Kevin Hamlin, he had to stomp on the brakes to not get further involved with that, and he is at risk of losing that draft now, Parker. You talked about 8, 9 tenths is where you need to be. He's about a second back from 11th place Trevor Perry.
Yeah, he's going to really need those leaders to start mixing it up, racing each other, having to, you know, force each other to sort of back off, get out of the throttle, and that might allow him to just sniff that draft enough to catch up. But right now, he's definitely in the danger zone, Landon. If he doesn't find a way, as they are getting side by side in the lead group, if he doesn't find a way to start to sniff that draft, he might watch his chances of advancing go away.
Yeah, I mean, if you're P11 right now, if you're Tommy, I don't know if you want to just be riding right there, lifting a little bit, because you don't want to be giving up any time and letting Kevin Hamlin close that gap at all. But it does look like that gap is getting bigger on Kevin, and then he's got a swarm of cars behind him. So even if he does get a chance to suck back up to the field, he's going to end up bringing Anthony Alfredo, Jacob Lee Sabin, Jacob Fisher with him.
Yeah, and that's what he might be hoping for. If they get single file and can catch him, that could allow him to sort of use them as a boost to get to that front top 11. But, man, that's such a frustrating place to be, as we see these leaders are really racing hard when they're all locked in. I mean, I don't know why are they racing so hard if they're, you know, you're locked in the next round? What are you doing?
Yeah, on the apron you can see as well. They are race car drivers. It's Trevor Perry and P9 right there in the Trans-Service car. The Trans-Service transfer car. I mean, this is, you know, we see him on the apron. I'm trying to see who that is. Is that Rabideau, Rollo there as well? Side by side is okay, but this is just enough laps on tires. We got 20 laps on tires. These cars are starting to get fairly free into the corner. You can see Michael Conti kind of working his car a little bit. You can see how yawed out the car in front of him is there. Looking back on Christian Peterson as well, these cars are starting to get free into the corner. You have to breathe it just a little bit. You cannot run wide open. But that car getting slick, that's going to provide another opportunity for caution.
Always a caution opportunity seemingly lurking at every turn around Daytona International Speedway in these cars. So we've got that lead pack of 11 strong. They're all locked in at this point. 2 wide. Midway through that pack is Nathan Rabidou on the bottom. Colton Salick has jumped up top to pick up Mitch Rollo on that high side. Rollo had been making it work by himself on the top shelf lap after lap, and now Salick will jump up there, but as soon as I say that, we've got a caution. A wreck somewhere on the racetrack going into turn 3, it looks like. Possibly the number 37 of Aaron Roofs. Indeed, got turned around by Michael Sturgill in that number 16. Oh my goodness, that's a tough one right there. And unfortunately, it's going to be Roofs that gets the shorter end of that stick, Parker, as he goes down to cover the spot. Nearly does a blowover. The rear end comes off the ground, hard into the outside wall, but that's going to be it for Aaron Roofs, I do believe.
You know what, David, that's a great point or time to bring up the Ventrac blowover count. We're going to have this throughout the whole entirety of the Firecracker 400 events here in the prelims. We're going to count that as number 1, Landon, of the Ventrac blowover count. I love to see that.
Let's see that again.
Yeah, let's see it one more time.
Blowover again with the Ventrac blowover count on it.
Come on. Give it to us one more time.
Bring it back to us. You know, that was, while we're watching that, you know, I do want to point, okay, we've got it up here in the right-hand corner. Just right on the quarter panel, maybe throwing a late block, and that's the perfect blowover. I mean, that's Parker. That's the kind of blowover that you and I try to do when we're just messing around in a test session. And I'm like, Parker, send me up in the air, buddy.
I love it. I love to see that. That's an addition that iRacing added with this car, and it's awesome to see. It wouldn't be so awesome in real life, but obviously it's sim racing, so it's a fun thing to see and a really realistic thing to see those cars catch airs and get turned around at high speed. But I love it. We've seen our first Ventrac blowover count.
And we'll get another look at this wreck. A little more unique perspective, and a big thanks to Ventrac for being a part of things on the blowover count. Great to have them on board. Sponsoring, you know, again, as you pointed out, one of the more unique aspects of this new car, the blowover, you know, usually is, as a sim racer, we're trying to avoid wrecks. But when this car came out and they said, oh, yeah, you can do blowovers in this, that was the first thing everybody was trying to do. Go figure. As I can report that Aaron Roofs did take his first and only reset here as you get another look at that wreck. But Roofs took his reset, so he's back in this one, Landon, with a fresh car, but he lost all that track position.
Yeah, it looked like just a little bit of a late block there. And, you know, seriously, that blowover coming from NASCAR Racing 2003, who got into the track INI or the car INI files and changed that roof flap from a 1 to a 0 so you could fly up into the air. Raise your hand, anybody that did that, myself included, anybody in the chat. So that's a great feature. Thank you, iRacing, for that. I do want to note before we came to the caution there, focusing on the transfer spot as we got Rafferty in the transfer spot. Kevin Hamlin did have about a 1 second gap to the transfer spot, but he was about 2.5 tenths faster that last lap before the caution came out. So it did look like he was picking up some steam. Maybe the 10th and 11th place cars had kind of lost some momentum, and he was just going to get a sniff, Parker. You just need a little sniff. You need to be like 6 tenths back, 7 tenths back, and then you really start closing the gap.
Yeah, and I was watching his lap times, and he wasn't that far off, but I mean, he had to breathe a sigh of relief when this caution came out, because this just gives him that second chance, right? That he maybe was going to get, he might if things went his way, but now it's a definite. He's going to have a chance to race his way into the next round, to 2-round qualifying the Firecracker 400 here on the first race of night 1. So this is a big deal for Kevin Hamlin, and something that, you know, he's been talking to us a lot. He's really excited about this event. Him and TJ Majors race a lot on the service, all different types of events, but he seemed really excited for this one, and I feel like he's going to give it everything he's got to try and make his way through.
Well, that's a good point, and that caution really saved him a whole bunch, because remember, Landon, he'd been separated from that group, was falling back, did not have the sniff of the draft, and now this caution has brought him back into the fray. As we're closing in, I think, on about 11 minutes left in this race or so. You see 17 laps to go, but I think this is going to fall to time more than laps. So with 10 or 11 minutes left for Hamlin, he's just on the outside looking in, as are a lot of guys behind him. And you know, you can't pass them under yellow, so you got to keep it green, but you got to make moves.
Yeah, absolutely. But it didn't just bring Hamlin back into the fold in 12. It brought Boris Cook in. Anthony Alfredo. Oh well, Anthony Alfredo looks like he's had some damage. But it brought a couple more drivers into the field here. Tommy Gossett's back in, Nick Holland. So it's not easy pickings for Kevin. He needs a good restart. He's got to make a pass. He's got to clear somebody, because remember, these cautions have bred cautions. I hate saying that, but they've bred cautions in these races as we approach the front stretch here for this restart.
It'll be Christian Peterson once again leading the field for the next big green egg, green flag here. Possibly one of the last ones in this race. Got to get it right. Back to the power they go. Nathan Lyon once again gives a bump to the back of CP. Aaron Smith in third, Michael Conti fourth, Justin Lisenby there in fifth. And again, they all fan down to the bottom. Single file all the way through up to the gears they go. Parker, first side-by-side action around that 17th, 18th position. And we talked about these restarts. We'll see it all night. You get up through the gears better than the next guy, you have an opportunity to make up some positions.
Right, and there's really only about, I think, roughly 8 minutes left in this race. So we will not get through all 16 laps. Most likely, we're going to obviously finish time limited, but this is definitely, as we saw in the back, it worries me a little bit seeing, past 20th place, them getting side by side. But I think it's really enough time. If you stay close enough to this front pack, as we start to see a little separation there outside the top 10, you can work your way to the front, or at least the top 11, if you just stay within that second threshold.
Yeah, it's Kevin Hamlin with a great lap. He's up to top 10 right now. Nick Holland 11th in the transfer spot, or Kevin's in the transfer spot. Nick Holland in 13th. As there is some side-by-side racing back in the pack. We'll keep an eye on just so that we don't see another caution. Patient racing, though. There's definitely some contention for this transfer spot right now.
Definitely.
Bobby Rafferty holding that spot down, Parker. And I look at the front end of Rafferty. It looks pretty good. It looked to have a little bit of damage possibly around the front end, but it seems to be okay. And he's holding up a pretty decent speed. That gap between he and Hamlin sort of hanging pace there. The two cars behind him, Tommy Gossett and Nick Holland, trying to figure out the order they're going to run in. But here comes Jacob Fisher as well. For Hamlin, he's hoping these guys get lined up and help push him forward.
I'm just looking at some of these times as we look towards that 12th place position, seeing how they're matching up. Oh, and there's that caution.
Not the caution that you guys wanted to see. It's going to be Wes Weigand once again involved in this, but it didn't start with him for the second time tonight. Unfortunately, all by himself, Scott Couturier in that 32 good wrench machine up against the wall, down back across the track, right into the path of Ryan Battle, who's battled a lot of incidents here tonight. That's a bad joke. I apologize. As he slams the wall as well, gets absolutely destroyed by Wes Weigand, who had nowhere to go. And that's going to be a nasty three-car incident. All three of those drivers have had their fair share of dealings tonight, and their prelim night, for all intents and purposes, might be up in smoke now.
Yeah, that's frustrating, right? To put in that entry fee, get here, do the practice. We saw so many do throughout the last week or so, put in so many laps and have it, maybe taken away in just a bad series of wrecks or events, or maybe some stuff that's not even you're doing, but that's racing. I mean, that's especially when we have 344 competitors in this event. There's no real way we can do it other than to do what we've done here, which is a series of races that are going to pare this field down to a manageable amount that we can put in that Firecracker 400. But I want to give a big shout out to all the competitors, everyone who entered into this event, all those that wanted to enter, even after we closed. Oh, as we see just losing up on the top side. Oh man, that was Scott Coursier, and then it sort of ensued behind them. But I do want to give a big shout out to all the competitors who entered this event. Anyone who attempted it has been involved on Discord over the last week or so, done the practice races, tweeted about it, talked about it on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, they're the reason this event has the the fanfare it does, and hopefully they'll be back for another e-racer event in the future. But this has been an incredible experience before we even ever got to the green flag.
Yeah, Parker. I mean, we've had so much fun talking about this over the last couple of weeks as we have been planning this event, because we want to. You look great. How's your tie there, Parker? You look great.
I'm tweeting right now.
That's okay.
I'm intrigued.
I knew I had to. We had to tease at some point because we have really wanted to make big events. I mean, that's been our goal here, and funneling 340 drivers down to a field of 43 has been a challenge. It's not the easiest thing to do. But it's been fun. It's just dealing with all the competitors and all the excitement. Our e-racer Discord channel, like you said, Parker, has been just lit up over the past week. I'm sure it'll continue to have a lot of discourse. We've got a setup forum in there. The guys have already been talking about their setups for the next stage of the event, because remember, this is a fixed setup race right now, but the next stage of Firecracker 200, or I'm sorry, 2-round qualifying, the Firecracker 200 and the Firecracker 400 will be open setups. So the drivers will be able to adjust their spoiler angle. They'll be able to build some more downforce into these cars, trim them out if they want, and that's their only car. They don't get any resets in the 200 and the 400. So we feel like we're just really building a community here, which is what we want to do on iRacing, and put up big money and let them race for it.
And I
Beautifully
think,
said. Are you guys going to keep your jackets on, or are you going to join me in the jacket-free club?
I know it's a little hot. It's like 1,000 degrees in here. I got to get this jacket off eventually. I just was gonna wait, to a little bit further in the broadcast, David. You gave up a little early, I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, we're 38 minutes into the first race.
You got if you watch the real races, it takes to at least the first past second stage for those guys to lose their jackets. But I'll give you a pass. No, I'll give you a pass on this one. I'll give you a pass.
You guys know I live in Arizona, right?
That's right.
That's right. How was the weather in Arizona today?
It's warm. It's very warm. My air conditioning is doing its job, but I'll leave the tie on. I'll leave the top button buttoned, but the coat stays off.
We can loosen up soon. All right. I'll let it go soon.
we might be coming to a green checkered here. We did not get the white, and I think that we did get the one to go. This might be coming to a white and a checkered. Yeah, one lap shootout here for that transfer spot. So, Kevin Hamlin, give it all you got, man.
Oof.
This is going to get good right here. This is going to get real good. Lights are out on the pace car. Christian Peterson's still out front, guys. He's been leading this thing pretty much since the drop of the first big green green flag, and has gone largely unchallenged, although it's been under yellow for a lot of it. We had a nice little stretch of racing as well, and he's certainly handled himself well up towards the front, but really, we're keeping an eye back here on this transfer cam. Bobby Rafferty currently holding it down. Kevin Hamlin right there. And guys, let's be honest. Parker, I'll start with you on this one. If there's anyone in that position that's going to have a trick or two up their sleeve from what they've seen in real life at this track, it's going to be Kevin Hamlin.
I admit it, but he does have a bit of skill, and he can get the job done when the opportunity is there. But as we come to this restart, I mean, it's going to have to be the restart of his life to be able to get by Rafferty and to find himself in that transfer spot. Let's keep our eye on it.
Here we go. Big green flag back in the air. Christian Peterson leading them up through the gears. One more time, they will all migrate back down to the yellow line. Keeping an eye on that onboard cam. You see it there as they go up through the gears, back up to speed. How much time do these guys have to get this race in and done? Will we see a swap of positions for that transfer spot? Single file as they work off of turn 2.
I think we need to get our director focused back there on that transfer spot. That's the one that matters. We see them fanning out down the backstretch. I don't think he's close enough right now. Kevin Hamlin, he might have lost a little bit there.
Yeah, but that gap is okay, Parker. As long as he has a pusher, he can close that gap with a big run, as I see him through the middle of 1 and 2. It's just too big of a gap. He's got about 5 car lengths behind him, 3 car lengths, 5 car lengths in front of him. The run needs to start accelerating for him on the transfer spot cam.
It's kind of in no man's land right now, and it's just a horrible place to be. He's picking up a little bit now. I think he's within range. He might be setting himself up for a huge run down the back straightaways. They're all single file in front of him there. No change for the lead, no change throughout the entirety of that top 11 transfer spots. Kevin Hamlin just trying, hoping for a sniff of that draft, hoping to get some help from behind from Tommy Gossett. And he's getting neither of them, Parker, as they go into 3.
He's not, but he's going to get a bit of a run here. Look at that, to the outside. Kevin Hamlin making the move because it's stick.
Can he get the push? He's got the push. The 80 is coming with him. A little contact. He's in the transfer spot now. Now he has the push. Can he get clear? He needs to get clear and get to the bottom into turn 1. If he can do that, now he's top of 3. 3 wide for the
That's not
transfer
gonna-
spot. Contact.
Oh my! He saved it. No,
And they're
Gossett
wrecking.
gets turned into the wall. They're wrecking in front of him. Everybody wrecks in turn 2. Caution flag will fly. Gossett up and over. Everybody piles in off of turn 2, and there's no way that was going to work. 3 wide. No way.
Wow.
No how that was going to happen, Parker.
Is insane. I mean, they knew it was go time, right? They knew they had to go for it. This was crunch time to make it through, put it all on the line, and it just sometimes ends up pear-shaped. But that's racing. You throw it in there, you go for, leave it all out on the racetrack. Don't leave anything behind. You might not transfer.
That was just close quarters racing, 3 wide with Bobby Rafferty on the bottom going into 1. Tommy Gossett in the middle, Kevin Hamlin on the outside. And Gossett made the choice to go 3 wide through the middle. Hamlin was up against the wall, left that hole there. Landon, I mean, you can't blame Gossett for trying to shoot that gap.
No, I mean, you looked at it for a minute thinking that he was going to push Kevin by, but then I had to remember what they were racing for, and he needed it for himself. So I guess I don't blame him. If I were Kevin, I don't know if I would have blocked sooner, maybe not left so much room, but I know that Kevin had already had left rear quarter panel contact getting into turn 1, so he probably didn't want to get spun from a 2-wide situation. So who does that put in for us? Does that put Holland into the race?
I believe it's Nick Holland there who gets the transfer spot here. We'll have to wait for everything to become official as they cross the line, but I believe that moves Nick Holland a 1600 iRating C-class license, might advance here into the top 88.
Nick Holland with a 1600 iRating C-class license ahead of Michael Sturgill, a 4099, who's 1 spot out of the transfer spot.
That's, that just goes to show, we talked about at the top of the show, iRating doesn't necessarily matter so much here. It's about what you do on the track and getting it done. And, you look at it right now, Nick Holland with that 1600 iRating, it looks to be in a position where he's going to get in, and guys with much larger iRatings than him are on their way out, and it does appear to be over as Christian Peterson will bypass the pace car here, and we'll see if he comes to a stop. I'm not sure. It's always tricky when you get into these time situations, but from what I can tell, it does appear to be over at this point. And we'll wait for it to be official before we call it official, but by all intents and purposes, I think we've got our first race in the books with Christian Peterson taking down the win. Nathan Lyon going to be scored in second, so I think we can do, in good faith here, we can do our full field rundown. Aaron Smith third, Michael Conti in fourth, Justin Lisenby in fifth, Colton Salick sixth, Nathan Rabidou in seventh, Mitch Rollo eighth, Trevor Perry ninth, Craig Arvanitas in 10th, Nick Holland 11th, the final driver making it in to next week's qualifying sessions. Unfortunate results for everybody on back there. Parker, why don't you take it from 12th?
Yeah, behind 12th, we have Christopher McKeithen, Rod Maris Jr., Aaron Ramon, Jacob Lee Sabin, Aaron Rose, Jacob Fisher, Andrew Tate, 2, and Bobby Rafferty rounding out the top 20, who was so close to being in that transfer spot, Landon.
Yeah, Ryan Battle in the 43, Taylor Peacock 22nd, 23rd, Anthony Alfredo running at Talladega on Saturday. Hopefully he can survive a little bit better than he did here today. Adrian Moore, 24th, 25th, Jake Hoonshaw, 26th, Justin Tudenshian, 27th, David Van Glabeck, Dalton Hayes, 28th, Donald Hickson, 29th, 30th, Harley Simpson. We saw him on Twitter. He'd been practicing, preparing a lot.
Unfortunate for him. Wes Weigand, a couple of incidents here tonight. 31st, Kevin Hamlin was in a position to try and get it along with Tommy Gossett, both of them DNF, 32nd, 33rd. Taylor Larson flipped earlier in this race. He finishes 34th. Joel Steuben, 35th. Brian Boris Cook, unfortunate result for him in 36th. Scott Couturier in 37th. Doug Heverin in 38th. Alan Space, 39th. Robert Rorich and Joe Thompson, 40th and 41st, respectively. And that'll draw things to an end here in race number 1 of 4 tonight on the first night of the INFRA Challenge 100s. Parker, that was, well, that was something, man. I mean, we almost got all 40 laps in. Came down to time, but we saw the importance of track position, particularly starting up front. If you're the leader, really good place to be.
Position's gonna be everything. That's what we noticed. I mean, hopefully the races get cleaner, right? But I think, one of the things there is the draft is so big. We've got so many cars, varying skill levels. If you just find yourself qualifying up front, you are obviously going to give yourself a better chance. You're not going to pit if there's a couple cautions. You're going to be able to make it the whole way, and you're not going to need those tires. So I think it just definitely comes to qualifying is very important and being able to stay up front. And if you're up there, fight for it, especially if you're just inside that transfer spot. Fight for it because you're going to want to hold on to that.
Absolutely, Parker. So stick around, folks, because we've got another race that's starting up in just a couple minutes, actually.
Yes.
Who do we have lined up in challenge race number 2? I see you looking around. Maybe you don't know who we have lined up.
I'm loading into the session right now. I can give you I can give you a sneak peek here in a couple of minutes.
I think it's a big name. I think
it is a name I think that most people are familiar with. Not necessarily beloved by everybody, I guess is a fair way to put it, but you can't doubt the man's talent behind the wheel, whether you love him or hate him. And to see him here in this event, of course, we're talking about. It's gonna be a mystery for all of us if we get the black screen there. No worries, but I'm looking at the same thing honestly as I'm loading in. But
we're just leaving Daytona. We shut the lights off for a little bit. We'll be back there in a moment. Turn the lights back on.
We gotta get E-Racer to pay the bill to get the lights back on.
Well, they didn't have lights in Daytona.
a very divisive name in the world of NASCAR, but he's here tonight, racing for his spot. He's gonna finish in the top 11 like everybody else. Kyle Busch in this race, and certainly a lot of buzz around that name, Parker. I know you've had some contact with him, and he's been looking forward to this. Paint scheme's looking outstanding, but to see him out there competing with these guys, how do you think he's gonna fare?
I mean, it's going to be tricky. This car is really hard to drive. Landon talked about, giving him some advice. He was texting me for, not advice, but just sort of some of the things that maybe he should watch out for. I mean, he's so talented. One of the things we saw in the Pro Invitational that was so impressive about him, it just goes to show you how talented he is, he started that off, very little iRacing experience, a little bit out the lunch in terms of feeling iRacing out and understanding how to go fast. And within a span of like 3 weeks, he was suddenly a front runner and contender. And I mean, if I had to give a most improved award during that Pro Invitational series of someone who jumped in iRacing and really grasped it eventually, it had to be Kyle Busch. And now I think he loves it. He's been racing with us in other leagues. He saw this event, reached out to us to enter it, and did it like anyone else. And just, is really enjoying iRacing. So I'm excited for him. I really hope he has a good night. I want to see him transfer selfishly as a promoter, but secondly, because I just think it's so cool that he's getting in iRacing. I want him to have a good experience. Yeah,
Kyle is he's shown his skill. He's shown his skill in those Indy cars as well.
This is I saw chat on Twitch, and hello chat, hello Facebook, and everyone else who's tuning in and watching this. Hope you're enjoying this. David Schildhouse here along with Parker Kligerman, Landon Cassill for the INFRA Challenge 100's first night of prelim racing here for the Firecracker 400. Hope that you're enjoying it as we get this race ready to go. Cars are on the grid. So let's take a look at race number 2, the way that they're going to roll off. And again, much like we saw in our first race, some very big names in this one as well. Leading them to the green flag, a very accomplished sim racer, Seth DeMerchant, another master of the super speedways, and has really taken a liking to this car, will lead him to the green alongside Bob Bryant, eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series iRacing driver. Adam Gordon will lead up the inside of row number 2, along with Chase Henry in 4th. Brian Blackford from Slip Angle Motorsports in the 5th position. Zane Scott in 6th. Matt Everhart 7th. Manon Rahman, who is involved with the George Floyd Memorial Race a few weeks ago, rolls off from 8th. Andrew Fayash III, a long-standing member of the sim racing community, in 9th. And Kevin Zielinski will roll off from the 10th position, Parker.
Keep taking it. I don't have the grid up yet.
Fair enough. Hunter Stifler will roll off from 11th. Kyle Putz from 12th. The diecast extraordinaire Kyle Putz. Good to see him in this field. Derek Hopkinson in 13th. J-Bo, Justin Botello from Outrun Esports will roll off from 14th. Michael Wynn in 15th. Dallas Pataska in 16th. Dustin Gainey 17th. Carson King in 18th. Sam Watson from Bottom Split there in 19th. And Trent Curtis rounds out the top 20.
Looks like
you got it, Landon?
Go ahead. I'm okay because I'm seeing Spud. I wanted to give Spud some credit. Michael Wynn. I've got Kyle Busch in my page here, row 11 inside. Look at that rookie card, Parker. Look at Kyle's rookie card. Roland Johns as well. Trent Curtis, Sam Watson, Liam Sheen, who helps us with the production on our Monday night broadcast. Also does the rained out broadcast. He's the guy that does the closed captioning that we love. Brandon Peters too as well, with a 3300 starting outside row 12.
And guys, I could take it over from here. Row 13 is Mitchell Briggs. You got Zach York, Sean McLaren, Isaiah Thomas, Chad Irvine, Matthew Zaccardo in row 15 there. I mean, what is that, a 1,700 I rating? We got Don Bellerby, Stephen Ellis, TJ Wood with a 2,200 I rating, Robert Hill Jr., Bruce Gaspardi Jr., and Chris Overland, NASCAR driver, starting 39th here with a 5,400 I rating. Wow, that's going to be a ton of work to do and fun to watch. Rance Brown, Derek Love, Brady Campbell, and I couldn't catch the last one, David. I hope you caught it.
Yeah, it's going to be Robert Smith riding shotgun on this field from the 40th position. So a couple of standouts from the world of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. A couple of other very accomplished drivers who haven't quite got to that level yet. Guys like our pole sitter Seth DeMerchant involved as well. Andrew Fayosh, who's won a lot of big races. Jabo, Justin Botello, the streamer and outstanding sim racer that he is. Sam Watson stands out in this list as well from his work with Bottom Split. But of course, Kyle Busch, they're in the 20th position. We'll keep an eye on Rowdy to see how he works his way up through the field. But another great field of drivers here. You talked about Chris Overland back there in 39th. A lot of work to do for him, but plenty of time to do it. He's just going to have to avoid the craziness and avoid the crashes. Maybe we'll see a much different race than we saw in race number 1. Yet to be a clean one, but perhaps these drivers are up to the task. The field works out at turn number 4 and is in the hands of Seth DeMerchant, looking for our first big green egg, green flag of prelim number 2. Pace car heads to pit road. We are underway for prelim INFRA Challenge 100, number 2. Seth DeMerchant, Bob Bryant side by side as they steam down the front straightaway into turn 1 for the first time.
See them all side by side, 2 by 2, all the way back, about 5 or 6 rows deep. They start to get a little more single file towards the back, which is nice to see. Maybe this race can be a little cleaner than we saw in race 1. Hopefully, these drivers seem to be keeping a little cleaner as we see that transfer cam pop up. That's me looking back at the 11th place position. That's right, the top 11 will transfer. And I believe Kyle Busch has already moved up just a little bit, a couple positions from his 21st starting spot. So that's definitely, he'll start to sneak into that transfer cam pretty soon.
Well, I saw Kyle Busch, Parker, underneath the yellow line after the race started. So I believe that was Kyle. And remember, there's no yellow line here at Daytona in 1987. So they can use up all the racetrack. I feel like that's something he's probably been waiting to do his entire career.
Oh, yeah. That's fun. That's a lot of fun. It's part of what's fun in sim racing. You know, we don't have to always follow what's the current day's rules. We can sort of replicate 1987. That's what we're doing here with the Firecracker 400 event. As we go down lap 2, down the backstretch, you see cars moving around, trying to find the ideal line. And we're on board with Kyle Busch up there in the top right now. And as he heads off into turn 3, he's got a bit of a separation. He's running actually back at 27. So something happened to him. Well, we got a car slow down there in turn 3 and 4. He'll get that position at least. So he's got some work cut out for him.
Yeah, a lot of action there on the really restart. Mixing it up.
Looked like he missed a shift entirely as we got our first caution. Oh, that's Mitchell Briggs in the 87, hard in the inside wall off of turn 4. And it looks like it started with contact between Sean McLaren in the number 14 getting up into Rance Brown. Rance the fence, got fenced there for about the 30th position. Unfortunate there. It looks like McLaren just came way up off the bottom, possibly trying to react to Robert Smith being slow on the apron. Not really sure there, Parker, how you see it, but unfortunate for Rance, unfortunate for McLaren, and really unfortunate for Mitchell Briggs, who I think took the hardest lick out of all that, hooked it hard left to miss the wreck, and ate that inside wall.
And that we'll see it here. Oh, yeah, that's going to be a hard hit into the inside wall. That's going to require a reset if he can get it back to pit road without having to tow. Maybe he can stay on the lead lap, but I mean, that's some of the hits you see super speedway racing, especially coming off turn 4. These cars, Landon, they get really light. They get into a 4-wheel slide, and there's really sometimes when they get in that 4-wheel slide, you can't hold on to it. It just starts to get away. And as you and I experienced in one of the practice races when I basically wrecked us both, it means the wall's coming quick.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was talking about, Parker, earlier when I said when you're running that top groove off of turn 4, you have to leave a little room and you have to be ready to breathe the throttle 20-30%. You give up a little bit of speed by doing it, but you give up a lot of speed by staying in the gas and having to crank the wheel to keep it off the wall. And if you stay in the gas, you run the risk of hitting the fence just like they did right there. So you got to keep this car intact. Yes, you have one reset, but there's 40 cars in this race. And you got to finish top 11, so you cannot afford to give up any track position.
Going back to the Kyle Busch topic on the restart, I'm not sure if the gears got hung up for him or what, but he just did not go. Liam Shane went right into the back of him as they were accelerating. Busch had to go down onto the apron there as the field scattered behind him, but Busch slow up through the gears. And we've talked about that. Probably won't be the last time we talk about that either here tonight. The difficulty of getting up through the gears in these cars. They're not like they are in the modern Cup car, Parker. So really tough to get up through the gears, and I think it bit Kyle Busch right there in that start.
So it's really hard, and that's one of the things we'll see as we get some of these restarts here, especially in the single file. That's why you're trying to time them, because first gear doesn't quite have it's almost too short of a gear for you to want to restart in, and second gear is so low that you want to have a bit of momentum when you get to it, so it can the car can really bog down if you don't get into the throttle early enough, and that's just so frustrating. So Kyle Busch doesn't have a lot of experience in these cars. Maybe he just had it in second gear or in the wrong gear and just didn't get going when he had to, and so it sort of got away from him. But hopefully he can figure that out and pick off a lot of these cars and make his way towards the front and get on that Trans-Service battle cam.
Parker, I saw Graham Bullen was in the chat a little bit ago commenting on the first race, saying that it was a stacked field. But look at this one: Brian Blackford, Kyle Putz, Kevin Zielinski, Justin Botello, Michael Wynn. I mean, these are some good drivers up here. I mentioned Michael Wynn because he's spud on my stream, so I just have to mention him. But we've got some big I ratings that are in this thing. Bob Bryant had some struggle. He's down in the field right now with a 6,300. And where's our boy? Where's Chris Overland? Did he miss? Did he miss the start, or where is he? Because I see him one lap down.
He didn't take the green flag. He never took the green flag, unfortunately, and is going to be credited with the last place finish. Did not start in this event. So
no start for Chris Overland. So that's this is a tough field. We've got Zane Scott, who is the organizer of the Fake 500 in this event. He's got a lot of work to do, work cut out for him to get back up through the field. So this would definitely be. This is a stacked field, if you ask me, is what I was getting at.
I'm going to the internet to find out what happened to Overland, guys. I'm going to figure this out. Unless the chat.
There you go.
We got to figure.
We'll get Parker on the story. We got Parker on the scoop, and while he does that, Landon, I'll bring this to you, Landon. While Parker does that, you talk about big name guys and guys who know how to win big events. You mentioned Justin Botello, of course, winner of the Monza Madness event, getting it done in that huge race. Here he is now in this one. Do you think there's something about certain racers that they just have a knack for big races and winning them?
Absolutely. I mean, guys can step up. The guys like J-Bo, they know how to step up. They know how to do what it takes. So I think that you love to see it. You love people that can do it in the clutch.
Absolutely. J-Bo in that 13th position right now in that beautifully painted up simple black Jack Daniels scheme there. The 07, of course, very appropriate there. So nice paint scheme for Justin Botello in that 13th position, a few spots back from Kevin Zielinski, who's currently in that transfer position. As the field works down the back straightaway, the lights are out atop the pace car. So we're getting ready for another restart here. Let's take a look at the running order as they run on lap number 6. Seth the Merchant, your pole sitter, out in front of Adam Gordon. Bob Bryant in third. Chase Henry. Zane Scott rounds out the top 5. Brian Blackford, Matt Everhart, Andrew Fayosh, Kyle Putz, and Manon Rahman round out the top 10. Again, Kevin Zielinski in that 11th and final transfer position as the field works off the banking in turn number 4. Now put Seth the Merchant in control of things here for this next restart. Pace car will duck off onto the pit road here to merge him back to the gas, and the big
Little
green
checkup back
egg,
there, about
green
10
flag.
spots back.
Back in the field is, another little stack up there. Everyone trying to get through the gears is, again, shooting down to that yellow line. Bob Bryant making a play for second.
They're 3 wide back in the field, and they're wrecking. Kyle Busch made it through. He's top of 3 wide right now. But there was just a huge accordion effect on that restart. Sorry to walk over you there, David. I was watching it and see it in real time there.
No, it's good. With a field this large, we got to have eyes everywhere. And yeah, it looked like it started with Isaiah Thomas, not the Detroit Pistons basketball player, but Isaiah Thomas in the number 11 Budweiser machine got a huge run up to the field. And yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of that, as he got caught up really quick, made a big abrupt move down to the apron, and I think that caught out the 60 of Matthew Zaccardo. And Zaccardo just, I'm not sure if he didn't know there was a car to his outside and Stephen Ellis or not as they worked through the tri-oval, but Ellis was there nonetheless. Zaccardo up into Ellis. Ellis spins around, grabs the 84 of Robert Hill along with the 74 of TJ Wood. Robert Smith nowhere to go. And somehow Derek Love sneaks through that. I don't know if we can grab a look at that on board, but he snuck through that pretty nicely.
David, one thing there, as you saw, is when there was that little checkup on the restart, one of the things these drivers don't want to do is they don't want to pass before that start-finish line. That can be a black flag from iRacing, or, it's something that we have written into the rules to say, look, we don't want to see this. We don't want to see you changing lanes, as just like in real life. We want to see a single file restart, everyone close together, but that's just one of those things when that does happen, as it starts to get checked up, you're trying to make a move one way or the other and just not pass each other, and that causes cars behind to catch the cars in front a little too quickly. So hopefully that cleans up. I think it's just that's something on the drivers to not try and get those runs, and to not try and hold or hang back. They got to stay close to the cars in front of them and go when it's appropriate.
Yeah, I was looking back on the restart. That really started with the 33 of Brian Blackford and the 43 of Matt Everhart. Just guys trying to lay back a little bit, getting a run, then accordion. Brian was leaving about a 2-3 car length gap, maybe pushing the rules a little bit on what kind of gap we'd want to see. Everhart leaving an even bigger gap behind Blackford there, and just closed the gap all of a sudden. But what happened was the green hadn't gone yet, and he had to check up. The whole field behind him was ready to go, and when you have 30 cars lined up, they just can't, it's hard for them to react.
So, guys, I do have some breaking news, by the way.
Do we have a breaking news soundbite that we can play? Do I have to make the sound myself?
Yeah, I think it was make ourselves. So the Chris Overland has been having technical issues all day and was not able to make the start of the race. So we got that. We discovered why that happened. He had a technical issue with his setup, meaning his computer and such, and so was not able to start. It's just like having an engine failure before, or an electrical issue in a real car. And now he's back in. Yeah, but he's trying to, he's many laps down, and I don't think he'll be able to come back from that.
Yeah, that is unlucky right there. Know that Overland is traveling right now, visiting some friends and working, not quite abroad, but in a foreign setup, if you will. So tough break for Overland, as he's currently scored 7 laps down in 40th right now. It's going to take a miracle of huge proportions, I think, for him to get back into this thing. So possibly over before it really ever started for Chris Overland, as the field works under the yellow flag for the second time. Here starting lap number 10. Lights do go out atop the pace car. So that will mean we'll got another restart coming, and hopefully the message has been delivered to these drivers. Landon, you talked about, and I've heard a little bit of admonishment being given to this field as we get a few lappers coming up to the inside here to maintain those gaps and not let any of that funny business play in on these restarts.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of eRacer here. We want to maintain a competitive field, and a fair field. And Joshua Mendoza, our race control, has done a wonderful job. So it was good to see race control deliver a message to the field that hold your line, hold your speed, keep it steady. It's written in the rules. We don't want to see any gaps. We don't want to see any games. That started in the top 10 right there. We're racing for 11th right now. with Kevin Zielinski. Botello's back there, Derek Hopkinson, Monin Rahman. I mean, this is a great race that we want to see some green flag racing going on.
We do want to see it. That's the thing. When we had a little bit of green flag racing there in race 1, that was awesome to watch. It's these cars slide around so much. It's so cool to see the drivers wheeling it and just sort of fighting it over the bumps and such. So let's get some green flag run here. Hopefully these drivers can get together, stop trying to jump each other in the restart. Long way to go, and let's get some real racing going.
I'll be curious to see how these lap cars on the inside affect the outside leaders. It's going to be Rence Brown and Robert Hill Jr., the two cars lined up to the inside. Rence Brown did not elect to take his quick repair after that first wreck that he was involved in. A lot of damage to the left rear quarter panel of his number 10 machine. Green flag back in the air, big green egg, green flag waving. You look at the Barney cam there, the man doing work, God bless him, as DeMerchant breaks away from the field over Adam Gordon in second, Bob Bryant third in the outside lane, Chase Henry in fourth, and that's going to be Zane Scott in fifth, and that's where your separation is, Parker, with those lapped cars. Scott trying to work the outside, but he lost a little bit of ground.
Right, we should note there is the ability for the lap cars to be up by the leaders on the restart. Basically, this is not like in modern day times where there's a lucky dog or anything. They'd have to race for that lap back, which they were not able to get ahead of the leader, and they were playing pretty fair in terms of not trying to fight the leaders too much. They know their day is in a little tougher spot, so that's why you saw those cars up beside the leaders. But now the leaders are single file, sort of breaking away a little bit. As we look further back in the pack, there's a bit of 2x2 racing as this front pack sort of gets away from that backside of the pack.
Rahman in 11th. Caution is out. Looks like it's back in the field. There's trouble off of turn 4.
Yeah, that's Bruce Gaspardi Jr. in the number 39 all by himself. Was the second car on scene. It looks like it started with Robert Smith, who has had an absolutely tumultuous race here already in only 10 or so laps as he tried to keep his car up against the wall. With Mitchell Briggs right behind him. And again, we've seen it so many times here tonight. Landon, these guys are losing track of where the right side of the car is. They get up into the fence, and he just stands on the brakes to try and end the torture ride that he was in. Unfortunately, that brings the car down the track, and Bruce Gaspardi Jr., he did his best to miss him, but caught the wall himself and then took a ride to the inside himself.
Yeah, that's a tough spot. These cars, they don't bounce off the wall very well. It seems like there's not as much body work. There's a lot of tire that gets into the wall once the car wants to climb the fence. But very, very tough break there. These cars are tough to drive, man. A couple laps on tires, they start getting slick. Get up close to the wall, you just got to be a lot easier on that throttle.
One thing we should mention is there is a bit of a provision for those watching, in terms of seeing some of these wrecks happen at the back. There is a couple rules in regards to that in terms of being black flagged or removed from the race if you are to cause more than one or even one that looks very much to be intentional in any respect. You can potentially be removed from this race, and I think we've already seen tonight a couple of drivers that have been for causing too many cautions, and therefore hopefully the races will get a little cleaner as we go along and they start to understand that we're not playing around in the officiating side of things, that we're going to be pretty serious about trying to make these clean races that get green flag running.
All right, so I'm going to address the elephant in the room, if you will, and I think it's worth discussing. Now, we saw that most recent yellow. It was started by Robert Smith, who we'd highlighted a few times with his problems here tonight. He was the lowest rated, as far as iRating goes, driver in this field, one of only 2 drivers who have not broached the 1,000 iRating mark as well. So we talked about how Daytona can be a great equalizer, how the draft can be a great equalizer, and anyone with any iRating has a chance to win these things. But when you get down to it, we've talked about how complex and difficult these cars can be to drive. There still is a disadvantage, I think, in my opinion, and feel free to disagree with me, but for the lower iRating guys, particularly those with who are really struggling to get iRating, to drive a car like this in this environment, it doesn't matter even with the equalizers we talked about. It's still very difficult for them.
Well, I mean, David, I think you're absolutely right. Well, was he talking to Parker? All right.
It's open for both of you. Open for discussion.
It is hard, and these guys, it's a great equalizer. It is hard for these drivers, but I don't care. I mean, I've got a fairly decent I rating. Mine's I'm going to say almost 4,000. It's not 4,000. But I would be nervous racing against Kyle Busch right now. I don't think, the guys around him right now, 1,600, 3,300, 3,400. He's got some good I ratings around him. I'd be nervous if I were them running in 20th spot.
So here's my thing. I think it's a great, discussion, Shieldhouse. And I think that the thing is, these events, the way we designed them, we want them to be inclusive for so many. And that's why we sort of start with the way it's designed is paring it down. And some of the rules are designed to sort of limit the amount that those sort of drivers that maybe can't get a hold of the car affect the race. But, we don't want to – there's so much of this where we didn't want to hold back that 600 I rating or that 800 I rating or 900 I rating from being in here because it is a super speedway, because it is such a big event that maybe, there's that underdog story of those guys figuring something out, putting in the practice, the effort to have a chance to go and be one of those top 43 in the Firecracker 400. So, I look at it a little bit like in golf, you have the US Open, right? I'm saying basically amateurs from around the world can try and find themselves eventually to get there. You have it in tennis, you have it in so many sports, but in motorsports, we don't have that possibility because you have such a huge barrier of entry to getting to top motorsports. You can't do that. But in the sim racing world on iRacing, we can do that. If you have this iRacing setup and a wheel and pedals, maybe even a controller like AJ Henderson, who will come up later in the event, you could have that chance to go up there and race against one of the best in the world in Kyle Busch. And that's just no other sport can offer that. And in motorsports, there's no other way that we can design an event that allows so many to be part of it other than here on iRacing. So I know it's, maybe causing a bit of these cautions, but we saw in that other race, cautions happened all the way up in 15th with drivers who had the I rating that was the average of the field. So I think this is definitely, it's a point of discussion, but I love keeping it open and trying to get those guys involved and help them get better.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to learn. There's no better opportunity than the one that's right in front of you to learn, and I think that's a great point as well. And we've got all range of licenses here from rookie. I mean, Kyle Busch is a rookie license, and up to A 499 perfect, licenses, and I ratings all over the place. So it's a huge mixture, and I think that's what makes sim racing so wonderful and so great that you remove all those barriers to entry, like you'd mentioned, Parker, and everyone can just come in. They plop down their $25 entry fee, and they have just as good a chance as anybody else. They just got to perform on the track. But we're getting ready for another big green egg restart here. Seth the Merchant leading him down for the first time on the inside of the track, and we haven't seen that before, but the Merchant does it, so that way they don't have to fight to get down to the bottom. Interesting that he did that there, Parker, but everyone already on the bottom, single files to get up through the gears.
It because it actually was a way better start back in the field too. They all got a far cleaner start. The cars were closer together. That was one of the best starts we've seen tonight, so I really like that move by Seth the Merchant.
Yeah, we see Justin Botello moving up to the 11th spot, Monin Rahman in 12th, right on that trans-service transfer cam. A lot of racing side by side, right through the transfer spot. Definitely anticipate that being high stress for these drivers, as there's one up in the fence, up high, no caution yet. That's for the transfer spot.
Yeah, he's still got it together. Can he keep it up there and not come down for the field? Oh, no, now he's coming down.
No, he can't.
And look who drove right through it, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch was right in the middle of that, drove right through it.
Really missed it.
That was Derek Hopkinson. Oh my gosh, he had that thing saved 2-3 times, Landon. We were watching it, all of us watching it, and then he didn't have it anymore, and he brought it back down across the track. Single car incident. Very fortunate nobody else got into him there, but yeah, you talked about some of the near misses. The closest, I think, Trent Curtis, who went to the inside to miss him there.
Yeah, and that's Derek. That's just so tough right there. As you can see, his car's up in the wall. And this is the part where you just have to trust it and stay out of the gas a little bit, collect your car. But he was in a rush. He was trying to get his speed back up, and it sent him out of shape back into traffic.
Well, it's one of those things where these cars they are tough. They're built like the old style stock car. You can run them into the wall a little bit. You can run into each other. But they're also hard to handle when you get them upset because they got a ton of weight, and that weight sort of shifts around from side to side, and it's really hard to get it under control. So, as a driver like that, when it got into the wall and started to bounce around, You hope he can get it straight, and it looked like he could, but you said it best, Landon. The second he tried to keep his speed up and start to gain that momentum back, he just didn't have the car straight enough.
Yeah, and that's a tough break for Derek. He was in ninth at the time in the transfer spot, just needed to keep it together. That outside groove, though, Parker, it's slick out there. I mean, you can get a run, and you can get good momentum. I've actually, I got to brag for a second. I've won a couple of these practice races that we've been hosting.
Is your arm breaking yet from patting yourself on the back?
Yeah, well, I can't reach around. This jacket's a little tight. But
Wow,
I mean,
okay.
I've had some good runs, and you can make that pass from the outside, but through the corners, the second groove is a little bit slick.
Yeah, and you have to enter, when you enter up there, the car, you have to almost pitch it sideways a little bit because it doesn't turn well enough up there sometimes. So you've got to like pitch it into the corner, almost slide it on the right rear, and then sort of put it up right next to the wall. And that's just a really tough thing to do lap after lap, which is why I think we see a lot of the drivers sort of use the old-fashioned line of run to the bottom, to the middle, and coming back, sort of diamonding the course a little bit. As we get into the longer green flag runs, we'll definitely see that. I got to give a shout out, and I don't want to harp on this, but Kyle Busch fell all the way back to 27th. He got up to 23rd for the first restart after that. He now is in 19th place, picking his way forward. I mean, look, if he can get past the top 15, I feel pretty confident he's easily got a shot at that top 11. We could see him trying to advance or going on towards the Firecracker 400, which would be awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't have to race your way up there. You just got to inch your way up there in a smart way. As you see, Kyle looks really good, fresh shaven for us in this race in his open face helmet, his Rowdy Energy fire suit. What a great in-car camera with the blue new in-car cam there.
Well, for the keen viewers, you'll also notice that is a Toyota Celica, by the way. So, throwing back to a time when, racers or Toyota wasn't even in NASCAR. We got the first ever Toyota Celica in NASCAR for 1987.
Good looking car, Kyle. Yep.
That's a good looking car. That's a nice little point of detail as well on the Celica, bringing that in. Very sharp, very nicely done.
Damage on the rear bumper.
That's
from the start when he missed the gears. That was from Liam Sheen. So you might see a little Liam imprint there on the back bumper of the 51 for Rowdy. But he's doing a great job. He's missed some of the wrecks that have been there in front of him and has advanced his position. Car seems to be driving fine. I think he's getting used to it. He'll get another crack at it here as we get close to the halfway point. As far as laps go, time-wise, we're probably looking somewhere in the realm of, 13, 14, 15 minutes, somewhere around there left in this event. If we can't get this thing green, it will come down to time, much like our first race did. Lights are out atop the pace car, which means we're getting ready for another restart, I should say. DeMerchant still out in front. Adam Gordon, Bob Bryan, Zane Scott, Chase Henry. Round out the top 5, Andrew Fayash, Matt Everhart, Brian Blackford, Justin Botello, and Kyle Putz. The top 10, Manan Rahman will be in the 11th position in that transfer spot with Dallas Pataska looking to take it away from him. And again, Parker, these guys are fighting. They're trying to get positions, but they're trying to run green flag laps. They don't want to be under yellow as we get ready for this restart here. We've seen patience. We've seen aggression. Now's the time to go, I think.
We do. We have. And I think, we saw a good restart there. I think things are starting to clean up. The drivers are understanding. So as we get this big green flag, let's hope we can get at least, 10 or 15 laps under green.
Would be nice to see green flag back in the air, the field back underway. Single file around the bottom they go. And again, the tricky part getting up through the gears. Everyone seems to be doing an okay job of that. First one out of line. No surprise there. Kyle Busch takes the 18th position away from Carson King before they even get down into turn 1. So Kyle Busch on the attack, trying to get back up to that lead draft. It looks like King did not get a good restart, which kept Busch back. So he needs a sniff of that draft as they spill onto the back straightaway.
Carson actually had a big gap to the cars in front of him. Kyle Busch had a good run. Was able to get around him and start to latch on this pack in front of him. So I think he's actually in a really good spot to inch his way forward. If these leaders can keep it clean, I think he's spread out enough that he's in a really good spot. As we look at that transfer spot cam, that's watching 11th place. It's sort of a jumble. Oh, we've got a caution on the speedway, man.
TJ Wood in the number 74 Quaker State machine has spun around coming through turns 3 and 4, but it wasn't his doing as cars got together. That was Overland coming together with Trent Curtis. Overland, remember, 7 laps down in the 38th spot, right on the outside of 20th place driver Trent Curtis through 3 and 4. Really pinched down on him hard, and I think Curtis hit that bump in 3 and 4. It shot him up into Overland. Overland hard into the outside wall. Car spins around and unfortunately collects TJ Wood in that number 74 machine as they exited turn 4.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but I think some of those cars back there that had already been maybe involved in the wreck earlier, they have now lost their one and only reset. Some of them might just call it a night, which is unfortunate. Thank you once again for coming. We want to thank all the competitors for coming out here and attempting to make it to the Firecracker 400, but they knew this was going to be a tough endeavor. I saw some out there in social media basically saying, look, this might be the toughest big event I've ever done because it's 43 cars going for just 11 spots. I think we're seeing that pressure sort of get on some of these drivers a lot, especially at the back, who maybe don't have the opportunity to race for something this big all the time. You know, they're going to hopefully get more used to it in the future as we put on more e-racer events. But, you know, thank you for coming out. We really hope they enjoyed their time.
Well, it certainly is the risk reward, Landon.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
no! That's
big damage from Overland. Several laps down. I think it might be time to hang it up there. Chris, this is a tough race. It's tough to get into that next round, even for a Coca-Cola Series driver, Pro Series driver. It's Chris Overland running at the back of the pack there. TJ Wood, just a bad luck deal for him as well.
Well, we should know Chris Overland did have technical issues before. It was, you know, that's why he was 7 laps down. So it's just not been his night. Not been his night at all.
That's right.
No,
we had a lot of action for that transfer spot. We had a lot of action for that transfer spot, Parker. I'm anxious to see. You know, I got my camera on Kyle Busch right now, but just ahead of him, I mean, Michael Wynn in 14th there, Kevin Zielinski 13th, Justin Botello 10th, Monin Rahman 11th. I mean, these are some well-known names. Kyle Putz, Brian Blackford, both of those guys are on my team. Kyle Putz was my spotter for the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series, and Brian Blackford was my crew chief. Well, would love to see him get through.
Speaking of your team here, Kyle Putz just lobbied in the driver chat to throw the checkered right now. Wonder why that is. He's in 9th, so he's in right now. He's lobbying for an early end of the race. Not gonna happen, Kyle. Sorry, can't say that's gonna happen. We're gonna race this thing out, so you better try and hold on to that 9th place.
Yeah, he's asking. He's asking for some collusion there. I think we're not gonna do that.
Typical race car driver. Neither of you would know anything about that, right?
No. Lobbying, right. No. I mean, first of all, as a race car driver, you're never wrong. That's rule number 1. You're always right. 2, you know, if you need something like a caution, there's no wrong way to try and get it. And, you know, especially when you're asking for a checkered flag, there's no wrong way for that either. So I totally get it. He's a racer.
You know, Parker, one thing I want to look at, you know, we've focused so much on the transfer spot, but Seth DeMerchant has been a driver that has spent a lot of time in our practice sessions. He's got a lot of laps. He's led a lot of laps. And the way that he's done his restarts, Parker, has been unique compared to what we've seen so far. Not only does he run the bottom with this single file restart, you can tell, and you watch close on this next restart as I think they just took the one to go. He doesn't just go. He doesn't jump ahead. He tries to keep that second place car on his bumper, and he's accelerating a lot more conservatively than you usually would.
I think you said it best. He did a lot of practice. He ran in our practice races. We saw him running a lot of laps. He probably learned a thing or two because those had some cautions as well. But I think, you know, that's one of those things where these drivers, whether it's real racing, you know, if you're tuning in this and you haven't watched a ton of sim racing or iRacing because maybe you've been under a rock this year, I don't know. You know, basically there's a lot of things that relate to real life, and you'll do a lot of the same things, and research and understanding some of the tricks of the trade are just like real life. There's all those same games that are played on restarts in terms of your setups, your cars, all the things you do, how you race people. So it's very similar to real life, and that's just one thing that he maybe figured out and wants to run with.
All right, field coming back into the restart zone. Merchant once again will lead them into it and get them back underway. Big green egg, green flag back in the air. Merchant back to the gas pedal. Adam Gordon shoving him all the way through the tri-oval here. Single file all the way throughout the top 10. Another big gap developed there. You got to keep an eye on those gaps. Right around that transfer spot. Rahman a little bit further back from the top 10 as he tried to get up through the gears, and that's Dallas Pataska on his bumper looking for that 11th position.
We got 2x2s. What is that, in 5th place? Basically, they start to get side by side. In the transfer spot cam, they're a little bit more spread out. Things have just a look. They'll probably condense as they get back towards turn 3, and they use that draft down the backstretch in that transfer spot. But yeah, things are a little bit calmer right now. Which way? Hey, we'll take it, Landon. We'll take calm right now. Let's just get a couple laps under green. Oh, we've got a car spinning off of turn 4.
Hopefully that's Michael wins sideways. No caution yet. He's holding it steady.
No caution. No caution. Good. No caution. We'll take that. Sorry, Spud.
Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, that's a tough position to be in, but you spin off the turn 4 down to that runoff area down there. Now we'll get the caution flag, so Parker should have kept the chance up a little bit longer as we look at get another yellow flag here. I don't exactly see what brought it out, but something clearly happened on the racetrack here. We'll look for it. That brought out that yellow flag, and it appears... I have no idea.
I don't have it. Could have been a debris caution.
Yeah. Hey,
I'll tell you what it was. You know what? I'm not gonna say for sure, but I think when Michael Wynn rejoined the, I don't know. I honestly have no idea.
Well, I can give some good news, guys. On our Kyle Busch tracker, he's now up to 16th. So
I was just about to say that.
You're saying the same thing. I mean, every restart he gets 3 or 4 positions. I mean,
he's gonna need more green flag racing though before he runs out of time, because I've got 38 minutes elapsed in the server here. I'm not sure where we're at on race time, so I think we might have maybe 4 or 5 minutes left.
Yep. So he's gonna have to get it done here in this next restart or so. In that Rowdy Energy Toyota Celica, man. Let's get this thing going. Let's get green. These drivers got to clean it up. Come on, clean it up. I'm gonna start using that chant, David, to say when there's no caution, because that seemed to work for a little bit. Yeah.
I like it. Get the chant out there. You know, whatever it's going to take at this point that we can get green flag racing. And you all know, and I know it as well, nobody likes running around under the yellow flag. Nobody likes looking at pacing. We all want to see green flag racing. We want to see side by side. We want it to be exciting. And that's what these drivers want as well. But they're just trying so hard. And sometimes when you try a little too hard, especially in these big events, you'll step over that line a little bit and find yourself in a tough position as we get another look at this incident. But it's just a product of trying really hard with a lot on the line. Parker, sometimes you step over that line a little bit and you put yourself in a spot that you really don't need to be in. So if you're in this top 10, top 11, you're almost okay with it because it's big picture racing, right? You want to transfer in, but for the guys that aren't in the top 11, they need the green flag laps. They want to do the racing, but when you push that envelope and race hard, you increase your chance of bringing out a yellow.
It's true. Hey, Landon, what's going on in the chat? What do we got going on? Twitch chat right now. Maybe the Facebook chat. Let's say we got any good questions out there?
I mean, I see some people rooting for Kyle right now. NASCAR fan says Kyle's the best. A lot of Mark H&NC doesn't think that he's going to make it. Here he's not happy. So, Kyle might not be happy. He's probably not happy riding around under caution. A lot of emotes coming in the chat. I haven't seen any blue emus in the chat in a few minutes. Maybe there's be some blue emus hop in. But NASCAR fan wants to see Kyle Busch in the Firecracker 400. We'd love to see him as well, but he's got to earn it. Nobody gets a free ride around here.
Exactly. Got to earn it. That's the key. You're not gonna. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, or Mr. Sub 1000 iRating, you got to race your way in these e-racer events. All starting equal, right? So just like in any other big tournament style thing, you all start equal. And if he just keeps doing what he's doing, if he can get 1 or 2 more positions than normal on this restart, I think that'd be interesting. We also got a note, guys. No more breaking news. I feel like I just keep breaking the news, but we just had a Mr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. connect to watch this race from inside the game. So he's getting his
Doing a little homework.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe he's getting ready. He's probably trying to. He needs to be doing some qualifying runs. He's like starting in the top 10 is a good place to be. I mean, if you're Kyle Busch in 16th right now, you're probably wishing he had a better qualifying time. How does he get these 5 spots with just really only one restart to go?
Well,
Keep your foot in it.
Yeah,
you have to stay in it.
That's gonna be.
That's pretty much all there is. You gotta keep your foot in it and make a big move.
I think that actually, if you're Kyle, the best thing you can see right now is a green-white, because if iRacing throws the white and the green at the same time, there isn't going to be another caution. Doesn't matter if there's a wreck. So if you're Kyle, I think I'd be okay being in 13th or 14th. Maybe he can get 1 or 2 on the restart. And if he's got momentum down the backstretch and 12th, 11th, 13th, takes themselves out. We saw in that last race, what did we see, Parker? It wasn't the 10th, it wasn't the 11th or 12th place car that transferred. It was the guy that drove through the wreck.
Yeah, it's basically 13 or 14. So it's on. I mean, there's no guarantee that just because you're at 11th that you have this thing locked up. It's it might be the best position to be there in 13th to 14th on that last lap. Seeing, if 11th and 12th are really close together, there's no telling what they might do to try and make that transfer.
Well, we're about to find out how it's going to go here.
Do it.
Probably for the last time, the field will come out of turn 4 under control of the pace car. That will go over to Seth the Merchant, and we get ready for another big green egg. Green flag to Merchant back to the throttle. Gordon gives him a little bit of a bump, and here we go, the run up through the gears. Everyone seems to be pretty tidy here, keeping an eye on Kyle Busch as he sits in that 16th position. They get a little bit too wide there around that 13th, 14th spot. That could open the door.
You got that transfer spot cam up there. They're spread out. The leaders are getting a little bit jumbled up. Interesting to see them sort of poke to the outside. We haven't really seen that. They've been single file most of this time, but this is the first time really on the restart we've seen them sort of go for that lead. I can't quite tell who that is. Maybe Bob Bryant on the outside there going for the lead.
Pataska gets turned. We got a blowover. Pataska hard up into the wall, up and over, spinning through the air, gets hit by another car as we go under the yellow flag, and that was an ugly, ugly wreck as he got turned, and the left rear quarter panel looks to be from the 8 of Dustin Gainey going under that yellow line, and it just did not work.
And I believe that will be our second then-tracked blowover count that we'll have here through night 1 of the Firecracker 400. Get a little bit of an idea of how that went down. Also, guys, through all that, I think Kyle Busch got to 13th, potentially. Oh, now he's pulled over. But just so close, guys, so close. He came, that was a badly timed caution, so Kyle Busch did get very close. He was 13th, basically, as that caution came out, and was so close to getting there, and this caution basically ruined it with that Ventrack blowover count of number 2. We'll get this replay here spun up in a second, but, oh, man, that's racing. Those 2 cars below the yellow line, flies up in the air, gets that blowover. Add that to number 2, flies up onto the track, takes a couple more with him. We've seen that a couple times, but if it could have just happened maybe a lap or 2 later.
That is a heartbreaker. A heartbreaker there for Rahman, especially. P12 as they come to the line here. Kyle Busch looked like he was 13th on that last lap. We'll see where he officially ends up. Seth the Merchant, though, going to take the win here. Adam Gordon, Zane Scott, P3. Bob Bryant had some rough luck in the LCQC, advancing through, though, to the Firecracker 400 2-round qualifying. Justin Botello, Chase Henry, Andrew Fiash, Brian Blackford, Kyle Putz, Matt Everett. Look at that. Look at those burnouts. I already did the top 10. Move right to the next round. Move to the next
and rolling. I heard Justin Botello come over the in-race comms and singing his trademark line. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very excited, very amped up to make it there. So that was your top 10. Let's see. It's going to be actually Manan Rahman will finish in the 11th position. So he will be in. So he gets the 11th position, the final transfer spot. Kevin Zelensky, first man out in 12th. Roland Johns, 13th. Sam Watson, 14th. Brandon Peters, Trent Curtis, Derek Love, 15th, 16th, and 17th. Brady Campbell in 18th. Michael Wynn, Spud there, 19th. And Derek Hopkinson, 20th. Last car on the lead lap, Parker.
Right, Kyle Busch gets credited 21st, although it's not entirely true. He basically, once he knew he wasn't making it through, just exit server. You got Dustin Gainey there, Isaiah Thomas, Zach York, Robert Hill Jr., Mitchell Briggs, Dallas Pataska, Carson King, Don Bellerby, and Rents Brown rounds out the top 30, 2 laps down. Bruce Gaspardi Jr., Liam Sheen, our buddy there, back in 32nd. Stephen Ellis, TJ Wood, Hunter Stifler, Matthew Zaccardo, Chad Irvine, Chris Overland, who had the technical issues, didn't get to start the race, but 7 laps down when he did. Robert Smith, and rounding out the field was Sean McLaren in the 40th position.
There you go. Look top to bottom at the second of 4 INFRA Challenge 100s here tonight on night number 1. We got 4 more on the slate for you tomorrow, but still 2 more to go tonight. Don't go anywhere. Of course, 2 more races coming up. We're going to switch over into another server and get that 3rd race up and running here, boys. But before we do, or while we do, I should say, because we should all be doing it at the same time. But while we do, I want to give a big shout out on social media to a driver who was in race number 1. There's been a lot of discussion on Twitter, and we certainly encourage everybody to share all this out there on social media with the hashtag Firecracker400. Let everybody know, let all your followers know on Twitter that you're watching this, where to watch it, so they can come in and watch us as well. But we got noticed, boys. We got noticed by one Kevin Hamlin, who was in race number 1 tonight. He gave us a huge shout out himself, saying that I and Parker look all put together, but Landon looked like an out-of-work divorce lawyer. Yikes.
Out of work? I don't know. It's a nice jacket. I mean, I feel like I look very well employed, but that's okay. What you guys don't see is I'm not wearing any pants tonight. No pants.
Oh, so I'm not the only one. Fantastic.
Yeah, I guess I'm not the only one in workout shorts. So we're all business on the top side right now, but it's maybe a little different down low. But hey, you know what, Landon? You got basically 2 more weeks to get better jacket game going. So if you want to up that a little bit,
leave my man alone. The jacket's fine. Look at him. Okay, he's straightened up a little bit. He's fine. He's fine.
Maybe it's the seating position. I'm still in my Blue Emu cockpit here, where I actually do my racing and my streaming. I don't know if the chat wants me to stream with a sport coat on. I think I would sweat like crazy. I've got a fan running in the background. In fact, the other day, I raised it. It was so sweaty. I just had kind of like a pool of humidity around me.
Wow.
Not the type of pool you want in the summertime. I saw a question in your chat, Landon. Somebody had asked me if wearing the sport coat, the shirt and the tie was warmer than my Fire Suit Fridays when I stream on Fridays and wear my Hermie Sadler 1999 Busch Series Fire Suit. And honestly, while I had the coat on, I think that was actually warmer than the Fire Suit. So happy to not have the coat on anymore. It's a nice coat, but when it's warmer than a fire suit, that's a warm one for sure. But Parker, your sport coat, tell everyone watching about your sport coat.
Coat is pretty interesting. It's got patches on the arms, which is just tremendous, right? And then it actually was worn most notably during Halloween when I dressed up as Walter Cronkite, and a famous broadcaster from back in the day put the patch on the pocket, the front breast pocket, and no one knew what I was through the whole night until I met one person, and they knew it at first glance, and that person became a good friend of mine. So at least for a little while. So that was cool, and I've always kept this jacket fondly ever since, and felt like this was the perfect occasion, the Firecracker 400, to bring it back out and unveil it to the world.
That is a great jacket, and Walter Cronkite dressing up idea is never a bad one. It's well done. as we continue to get all the love now, a lot nicer love on Twitter than, well, I mean, we got nice love from Kevin. Landon, they're being a little bit nicer to you.
Yeah, saving a little. I got a text from Jake Wolf here, my style editor, that says Kevin Hamlin's tripping. The spread collar is good.
Well,
oh goodness
spotters
gracious!
Well, NASCAR spotters are not known for their how do I put this style, clothing wise. So
that's fair.
What's he know?
That's fair. As you know, as someone who's spent time up on the spotter stand, albeit in the truck series a number of years ago, I can confirm that it was an interesting group of individuals up there, to say the least. A veritable unruly gang from top to bottom, but we had fun up there. But you saw the shots from overhead here at Daytona International Speedway. Cars are on the grid, so let's take a look top to bottom as they will be rolling off for our third INFRA Challenge 100 here tonight. It'll be Tucker Minter rolling off from that pole position. Alex Kalanick's lead was outside in second. Kevin McAdams, old Papa McAdams there from bottom split in third. Blake McCandless, you know him, you love him. One of the highest I ratings in the field, if not the highest. He's rolling off from fourth. David Brown will come from the fifth position. Mr. Coca-Cola himself from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and a man of controversy as of late. Blake Reynolds in that sixth position. Derek Watkins in seventh. AJ Henderson, the controller king, in eighth. Andrew Fitzgerald from ninth. And Brad Slaughter Jr. will roll off from 10th.
Carpenter, the IndyCar driver and owner, will start on the inside of row 6. Clint Roberts on the outside of him. Colin Keister from the eNASCAR Series on row 7. Nick Foster, Caleb Benzie, Ryan Borges, Nate Trito, Clint Roberts there. You have Dalton Dudley, Alexander Russell, Mike Rasmus, Jason Barham, Tyler Wood, and Jason Hart rounding off row 12, Landon.
Yeah, Rich Jamison, row 13. David Bernard, Sean Petchin, Chris Demarest with a 937, Cole Stranahan, and Jake Bustos with a 2565, starting outside row 15.
Gonna be Joshua Abbey in 31st, Trace Kelly, Justin Faulkner, Rit Cadeau in 34th, John Garrett, Munatsi Major in 36th, Ishmael Martinez, Gabe Allen, Nadir. Oh, brother, look at this last name. Here we go. Rinderknecht. Yes. Rinderknecht. That's German. I'm Austrian. It's fine. Brett Murrell and Isaac Singleton round out the 41-car field. We'll work on that one. Don't you worry. I see a blue emu car in the field. AJ Henderson looking strong there. Green flag presented by the Big Green Egg Company in the air, getting this third race underway as Tucker Mintner will take them through the trial for the first time. Kevin McAdams down in line. Blake McCandless looking for third, not able to do it as Alex Kalanick shut the door.
Top lane just didn't quite get going as well as the bottom lane. They were all able to find a way to slot in a couple spots back from the front row. We're seeing a little bit of side-by-side further back outside the top 10, single file for the front lane right now.
It was like a mad rush to get to the bottom as soon as the green dropped. I think these drivers have been watching the prior races. That bottom groove is definitely preferred, but you see them slide up to the top a little bit farther back into the field as they're wrecking in the middle of turn 3 and 4.
Yeah,
this is not just in the back of the pack either. This is a top 15, top 20 drivers. As big junk off of turn 4. Cars upside down.
Tredo was involved. I believe it was the 91. Potentially that was the start of all this. We'll have to go back and look at the replay.
This started with the 87 of Clint Roberts, who just got loose on the top side going into 3, brings it down the track right into the path of Nate Trito. Unfortunately for Trito, he gets hit, but the real big loser is going to be Alexander Russell, who got absolutely catapulted up in the air with that Starcom livery. Of course, I'd expect nothing less from Alexander Russell, but tough break for him, and that collected a whole bunch of other cars, including Cole Stranahan, Joshua Abbey, Rich Jamison involved as well. Unfortunate for Rich. Jason Barham involved there. So another handful of cars collected in this one. A first lap wreck, and hopefully not an indicator of what we'll see for the rest of this race. But again, guys just getting loose by themselves. We've seen that a few times here tonight already, Parker, particularly from that top side. So from what you're seeing, what you've experienced with these cars, what do you think may be contributing to these drivers getting loose like that on the top side?
Damn lap. That's the problem. We got to. I mean, I don't know other way to put it. We got to get some green flag running here. This is, you're not learning anything running under caution. And I don't quite understand it. You can't move forward under caution. You can't learn anything. And yet we keep having drivers who are, making moves that just are low percentage moves, or, not being able to control the race car in places, or putting in a place where they don't feel like they can control it that well. And it's not doing anyone any good. So we got to figure this out, and we got to get these guys in line and start racing each other cleanly and get control of the race cars, because these cautions are no fun to watch. But hey, you know what, Landon, this is what we knew could be a possibility with so many entries to this event. We know that the racing will become cleaner and cleaner and better as we move forward. But we had to start somewhere, and this is where we are.
Yeah, I mean, they get a reset. They're going to fix their car, come back out, give it another try. We know there's going to be some more cautions. These drivers that are in the top 15, that are 20th, Chris Demarest, Gabe Allen, they're going to be inching their way forward. John Garrett, these guys are on the outside looking in. This is not easy. This is some of the drivers I talked to going into this event after the practice races. They said, man, these things are wreck fest. And I said, I know. We've got drivers from all over the place trying to get top 11. Denny Hamlin had actually just texted me. He's getting into his practice server right now because he's in the next race. I said, Denny, qualify top 10. He said, I'm not qualifying top 10. So I don't know if Denny has the confidence in his qualifying speed, which hopefully doesn't result in another Kyle Busch story.
I'm with you, because that's the thing. We gotta get some green. If there was green flag racing there earlier, Kyle Busch makes it through. So we've got to get some green flag racing. I know our buddy there, Josh Mendoza, there running the officiating. He's getting a stern look with all these drivers, starting to tell them, look, we've got to run some green flag racing. So hopefully they're going to get the message. Hopefully they understand, David. Hopefully they start to see that this is doing no one any good, and we get some green flag running.
You would think now, with 2 races under our belts and everyone's been watching this, that the message would be loud and clear that, A, you want to start up front. It's very important to do so because track position matters, and we've had a propensity for going under the yellow flag a few times, but also that you got to get green flag racing under your belt in order to advance your position. So you can plan all you want, but eventually when you put it into the driver's hands and you put them in this position, this is what you're going to get. I mean, we're race car drivers at the end of the day, whether it's sim or real, and you're asking a lot of these guys to try and be patient. They all want to go, and maybe some of them don't have the experience in this car as well. They've driven it very infrequently. Right. It hasn't been out for very long, and so they're just not used to the runs, the way that it handles some of these things that we've seen, maybe catching them by surprise as well. So there's a lot that can play into it. But again, perhaps, and my hope will be that perhaps what we see here tonight are just the pre-show jitters, if you will, for the big events coming later on in this month and culminating with the first. So with the Firecracker 400. So perhaps we're just getting it all out of our system now.
That'd be great.
Well, it's obviously when we move to those races, there's no resets for those races coming up. So we're coming to green here. David, I think we're about to see some racing. I know these guys want to get going.
Yep, we'll be getting ready for another restart here as we look at dual onboard cams with Blake Reynolds and Blake McCandless, the Blake and Blake show. It'll be McCandless in 4th, and it'll be Reynolds in 5th. The one looking to add another pace car drops off. Another big green flag in the air as Tucker Minter gets the field back underway. McAdams in 2nd, Kalanick's in 3rd. As you see the drivers go up through the gears, up along the wall, different than what we saw out of Seth the Merchant in the last race. A little bit of a gap around A.J. Henderson, who goes back down to the bottom to cover off the 6th position.
A little bit cleaner start, hopefully, than we saw before. I'm going to use my mantra, no caution, please. Let's just get through these first couple laps. Certainly single file towards the front as they peek out there in 3rd place, racing down the backstretch, but definitely a little, we've actually got some spinners down the back. That's Ed Carpenter involved, guys.
Yeah, Ed Carpenter in the number 20, just dead in the water there in the middle of the back straightaway. Luckily not to get hit by anybody, but looks like he was minding his own business, and, well, he got hooked in the right rear. Really no other way to call it as Keister gets into the right rear quarter panel. Sends him into the outside wall, right into the path of Ryan Borges. Not really too sure what exactly Keister was doing there instead of just riding in line and pushing him. That's what I would have expected him to do, and I think that's what Carpenter would have expected to do. But nonetheless, Ed Carpenter gets hooked, this time in the right rear. I think that's the first right rear hooking we've seen tonight.
Well, it happened when I said stop saying no caution, guys. We figured it out.
Yeah, so you got to just keep saying no caution as long as you can. Ed Carpenter driving the LCQ paint schemed car. He's one of my competitors on the LCQ league on Monday nights with Connor Daly. So good to see Ed in the field, but he's got a long way to go from here.
And he was in a really good spot, just inside the top 15. He was in a really strong position. He did a little bit of practice with us. Here we see the replay down. Oh my gosh, just gets completely taken out. That's not only unfortunate, just not the type of racing we want to see.
Yeah, that's tough. With Keister, do you expect? I mean, you definitely expect to see more, out of that caliber driver.
That would certainly, I think, be the going expectation. A winner this season in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series when they were at the Charlotte Motor Speedway a month or so ago, and a first-time winner and all that, and certainly someone, when you look through the field, you expect to, have a great run through the field and make, the best moves out there if you're going to rate anybody making moves. He and Blake Reynolds, two Coke Series drivers in here, but perhaps just an error, a misjudgment, not really sure. But when you get hooked on the straightaway, getting hooked on the straightaway never looks good. Doesn't matter who's doing it.
Well, hey, that just proved that it's not always the low iRating guys that are causing it. These cars are tricky. They move around a lot. 3 wide is never easy. But hey, we've got looks like we had Foster there on camera. That was a good looking number 13 car, by the way.
You're partial.
I'm sorry.
You're definitely partial to that one. Well,
look like in chat. I see Connor Daly in chat. Landon, Connor
is he
Daly
in chat right now?
He is in chat. Connor Daly,
wow.
our good friend, is in chat talking about how Ed's probably not going to be happy at the gym tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully he can defend his honor and hold up the fort in chat there, Connor. So thanks for participating.
Going on in chat.
Really wishing that Connor was in this thing. I talked to him about signing up. He said, no, I don't want to. And then after we closed the signups, I got Ed texted me and said Connor really wants in.
Of course. How many do we have? We had 18 people afterwards, 20 some odd people, maybe more, reach out trying to get
directly,
in after those signups. Yeah, directly. That wasn't even just who went and signed up or tried to attempt to sign up on our website. So, I don't know. I mean, the racing right now hasn't been the best that we've seen so far, the cleanest. So we might have, if we go to that many people, we might have to find another system. But I think, we hit a great amount.
I think I would have been in this race, or I would have tried to make it into this race if I wasn't here in the booth with you guys. I'll tell you that much right now. But when you get the ask from Parker Kligerman and Landon Cassill to be a part of the broadcast for such an event like this, you don't really turn that down. So as much as I would have loved to make my bid for $2,000 payout and be a part of this stuff, I'm really happy to be up here in the booth with you guys, and I really appreciate everything that y'all have done to put this together and to bring me in and bring the community together as y'all have been doing for many months now since the world's sort of been put on hold. And we've really come here to the streaming platform, and sim racing has really been thrust to the forefront. So I'll speak for everyone out there watching right now. Just a big thank you to you guys for putting this show on, and I'm looking forward to many, many more nights together doing this.
Definitely. Wouldn't have wanted to do it with anyone else, man. It's why we were glad when you accepted it. Sorry you couldn't race in it, but we selfishly wanted you up here in the booth with us to comment on all these great caution flag laps that we've been getting. But we're getting rid of those, all right? I'm saying it right here. Those are gone. I'm going to say no caution from now on, and we're going to find ourselves some green flag racing here. I can feel it.
Well, I
like it.
Keister here on the Blue Emu onboard cameras. We come back to green, David.
Absolutely. Get a look from Colin Keister on the Blue Emu onboard cam. A lot of love to Blue Emu for being involved with this as well, along with all of our other partners. But Big green egg, green flag back in the air. Tucker Minter once again to the throttle. McAdams there in second. Kalanick's third. McCandless fourth. Blake Reynolds in fifth. First mover out of line is going to be David Brown ducking down to the bottom side underneath AJ Henderson. No help there for Brown as they go into one. The rest of the field will make their way down to the bottom, but he and Henderson will be side by side.
And they stay 2 by 2 there. AJ Henderson on the outside right now in that Blue Emu car. The 81 car there is going to look up Brad Slaughter Jr. and try to give him a little bit of help. Run that outside lane. They're going to try and get beside Blake Reynolds there in the 3 Coca-Cola machine. See if that outside lane's got a little speed right now.
As long as there's a little grip out there, Parker, it could definitely have the momentum, and maybe as the bottom checks up on a restart. So we got the controller king in the Blue Emu, the Blue Bird on the outside.
Can you believe that he is on a controller? Can we just talk about that for a split second here?
I mean, he's not just
we're under
running
yellow flag.
No, we're going to have time to talk about it, guys.
we got plenty of time after the caution's out. You know,
Rick
AJ
gets spun out, and Rex here. We'll look at the wreck here, and he got spun out by Cole Stranahan. Again, just lost it all by himself. Parker, unfortunately, he's driving a 77. I know that's going to hurt you a little bit, but
yeah. He's not doing
up
the
into the
77
wall.
any justice.
Up into the wall, back down across the track, into the passenger door of Rit Cadat, and spins Rit hard into the outside wall and puts us under the yellow flag again. So, again, not a very long run, and, again, just a single driver error affecting this field, and I think that's just what we're going to have to get used to. We pair these drivers down and get to our 88. It's just to be expected.
Fun fact about Rit Cadat there, he's running one of the Ventrac cars. He also worked on some NASCAR teams back in the day on pit crews and such. Did it as a part-time gig on the side of his real racing, and is a huge NASCAR fan. I know I'm very good friends with his son, Rit Cadat, so I was rooting for him a little bit, hoping he could find himself close to that transfer spot. But hopefully he's still got a reset available. I'm not exactly sure, but that was unfortunate to get taken out with nothing of his own doing.
Landon, the Blue Emu car. We want to talk about him now that we got a moment on a controller. You were talking about what does that exactly mean for those who might not necessarily understand how this whole sim racing thing works, or what it means to use a controller for iRacing?
Well, our boy AJ right here, controller king. He's on an Xbox controller, or no, he runs a PlayStation controller, I believe. So it means he doesn't use a steering wheel and pedals. He's got the master thumbs. He's got the fast thumbs, and he's not just. This is no fluke. He didn't just practice for the Firecracker 400 and run this well. He made it to the main event in the LCQC, Landon Cassill Qualifying Challenge, just a couple months back. That was another 220 car field that we promoted, and he made the top 40 to take a shot at $10,000.
On a controller. That's super impressive. I mean, these guys are using wheels and pedals, and they can't quite keep it together. Imagine doing it on a controller. That is a very unique talent, Parker. Very unique talent.
And a little replay there again.
Love seeing him in the Blue Emu house car, nonetheless.
Nice. Yeah, I see you stuck that in here into the field.
That's right.
No, well done. It's absolutely insane that he does that on a controller. I mean, I think about all the games, maybe when I was a younger kid, I played on PS2 essentially, that eventually graduated me to enter 2003 and F1 Challenge and R Factor and eventually iRacing. And I thought, all right, I was pretty good then, but never could I imagine driving any of these sims with a controller, let alone doing it against some of the best in the world and doing it competitively. Like, it boggles my mind that he's able to do that. And he looks smooth. It's not like you can tell he's on a controller, which is just insane. And he's got to be in the 0.00001% of ability with a controller, and that's why he is the controller king. He lives up to the name.
Yeah, Parker, for the viewers out there, check him out. Look up the controller king, AJ Henderson. You'll find him on YouTube. There's actually some footage on YouTube of him running his controller, streaming, driving on iRacing with his controller. So he's our man. We always root for him.
Definitely.
Yeah, unique skill set for sure. That's super impressive to do. Really, really impressive. So good for him to be running up there. And he's sitting right behind the Blake and Blake show, McCandless and Reynolds It's been pretty much, the standard issue up towards the front of this field. No changes there. As we look back at the transfer position currently held by Andrew Fitzgerald in the 11th spot, Nick Foster scored in that 12th position, Keister right there in 13th. And I'll tell you this, I hear a lot of chatter in the server right now amongst the drivers. It's a mixture of disappointment, a little bit of memeing, and a little bit of impatience because of the amount of cautions and seemingly coming in positions and times where they just shouldn't be coming. And I think that's, again, something that's unique to iRacing, where in the real world, you don't have the ability to talk to your competition immediately, right? You have to do it after the race. Here in iRacing, you can talk to your competition using the in-game communications. And so guys have conversations and they chirp at each other, and that can really affect the overall product. So far, everyone seems to be on the same page through the course of 2 full races and this one. Nobody likes the wrecks that they're seeing, but nobody's really doing anything to stop it either. So it's a weird juxtaposition, if you will, Parker, of everyone wants the same thing, but you can't get everyone on board to not make it happen.
And that's the thing. And we're looking at the transfer spot cam up there, trans service on board with the driver in the transfer spot, Andrew Fitzgerald. But that's the thing. We had to balance, remind people, we had to balance, a great show versus the competitive integrity of an event this size, right? Having this many racers, 344, attempting to whittle it down to 88 for qualifying next week, and then eventually to 43 for the Firecracker 200 and 43 for the Firecracker 400. There just was spots where we had to make the decision of keeping it more in the Sims' hands than our own because of what was up for grabs, because of trying to keep that competitive integrity. So this is frustrating, but I'm telling you, I'm just getting the sense we're going to get past this frustration, and we're going to hopefully get some green flag racing.
All right, getting ready for another restart here. Big green egg, green flag back in the air. Tucker Minter once again leading the field, back by Barney there, waving the green flag, doing a great job, Barney. Appreciate it, brother. Top
He's getting
5
a workout tonight
here. He really is. That arm is getting a workout, and he's going to be the buffest man at Daytona Beach, I'll tell you that. A little tense moment there between A.J. Henderson and David Brown as they both fought to get to the bottom there. Henderson just came over the comms and said, thanks for cutting me a little bit of a break, as that was a little bit of a tardy block, but they get it all squared away as they go single file down the back straightaway.
A.J. Henderson underneath the yellow line there. I think that's a block, protecting the inside. We've proven how important that inside is as AJ's in 6th. Derek Watkins in 10th, Fitzgerald 11th there. That's closer to the transfer spot as Minter continues to lead the field off of 4.
3 wide at the back of the pack there. One car got really loose off of turn 4. Hopefully he keeps it together. I'm just hoping that we're not going to see a caution. No caution yet. We're looking clean so far. It looks like they kept it all gathered up. We got the A.J. Henderson cam here, the controller king. We're all fascinated by this story. Got him on the screen right now, but they are, I think it was Colin Keister that was super loose off of turn 4. Kept it together.
Well, we got a little knot of cars here around that 10th position, starting with Brad Slaughter, Andrew Fitzgerald, Michael Jeans, Colin Keister as well. Right in the middle of this, Keister's going to poke the nose 3 wide, coming out of turn 4. They make it work. Make it work. Fitzgerald way up high, gave a lot of room. He's weeble wobbling down the front straightaway, but they keep it straight. Power move there for Keister as he'll jump up inside the top 10, right on the back bumper of A.J. Henderson.
Best racing we've seen all night. I knew they could do it. I knew it. But that was an amazing move by Colin Keister there to go through the center, 3 wide. Fitzgerald held on to it. Everyone played their part in keeping that clean and green, and what a move.
Close nose to tail here down the backstretch. Always got to watch that front bumper to the rear bumper. You can definitely suck the air off the guy in front of you. That lead car get him really loose into the corner as we're watching Tucker Minter here. Close gaps, even though these guys are safe. They're in the transfer spot. They just need to show some patience.
Oh, we got a car that was just touching the wall off of the tribal. He keeps it together, keeps it green. We continue on. No caution, no caution. Come on, let's keep it going, guys. This is good stuff. Loving this racing up front. They're actually going after it, especially even up at the front here at the lead. We're going 3 wide to the top 5.
through the middle. Colin Keister, like he was shot out of a cannon, down the back straightaway, goes from about the 7th position all the way up to the lead on the outside lane. That is a Coke Series move right there, if I've ever seen one. That might be the first time anyone's ever actually said that, so it certainly would be the first time anyone's seated. But Keister to the top side now, dueling with Tucker Minter for the lead.
What are these guys doing, Parker?
Well, I mean, that was the move of the night. That was, I mean, he restarted from this restart outside, definitely outside the top 10, potentially outside the top 15, and just suddenly wheeled his way through the center, all the way through. Here we're on board in the bottom right of your screen with Colin Keister. You see the gap is closing up. He threads the needle.
I can't handle that. No, not
awesome
the lead.
stuff.
Wow. We take the top 11, guys.
You know he's aggressive. Colin Keister, one of the most aggressive drivers on the services. The caution flag is going to fly and kill this great racing, as we've got an absolute pile up in 3 and 4. And it started on the entry to turn 3. Sean Petchin in that number 1 machine up into the wall, similar to other wrecks we've seen tonight, brings the car down the track, collects Justin Faulkner, hits him in the right rear. Faulkner head first in the outside wall, gets absolutely tattooed by Jason Hart, Jake Busto, Ed Carpenter again involved in this one. That was an ugly, ugly wreck. Many cars flipped over on their lids, and for Faulkner, turtle helicoptering on the apron through 3 and 4.
It's never a term you want to hear in racing. You've turtled.
Turtling and helicoptering. Oof.
Well, we'll see if we can add to that Ventrac blowover count here with this one. Unless he got knocked a different way, if he was able to get some air underneath that car and blow over. Well, I think that, well, we'll see. I mean, was that a Ventrac blowover or was it helped, Landon? It's a negative.
Were we going to call it the blowover count or the flip count, maybe?
Yeah.
No, that was a good one. Parker, you know, I want to switch gears for just a second here, because in the booth, we have Brian Blackford, my E-Crew chief, but also a driver who just transferred his way into Firecracker 400 qualifying. Brian.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
It's great to have you.
Yeah, man. What a race. I mean, I'll say this. I know if I was nervous, I can't imagine the people who were racing around 20th to 30th who, you know, they have to go. They have to make moves. They have to we can't run single file. We have to try to make moves. But man, that was really intense, and I think everybody I spoke to was just extremely nervous before this race, because we all know how much it means to, you know, make the top 86 or how many guys you've taken. It's really exciting.
88.
It's 88, Brian. Just to let you know, you're one of 88. We've been seeing a lot of cautions, and these cars are really hard to handle. But give us some insight. You were just on the track. One thing we haven't really brought up is that these track conditions are set to what it was today in Daytona. We went off the real life track conditions, so it's pretty hot and slick. It's about midday, basically, that these track conditions were set off, Brian. So what did it feel like out there? Why are we seeing so many cautions, in your opinion?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I could feel the car. You know, it was quite a handful, honestly. Like going into 3, for, you know, several laps, like a lot of guys were checking up really hard for the corner, and you know, understandably, because we've got, you know, a little less grip, but it almost made it like more dangerous, because like I felt like I could hold it, you know, wide open, so it kind of created some awkward situations up there in the top 10 with varying, you know, skill levels. But yeah, you can definitely feel it. You know, it's hot down here in Florida. I'm a Floridian, so like I love this hot, humid day, you know. So I really excel. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's tough to handle. You're seeing a lot of yellows, you know. Just I think people, they're not getting in a rhythm. It's really hard to build a rhythm at Daytona when, you know, you get 2 laps and then it's caution. You know, that's really the biggest problem for me. Even when I was trying to restart, I was just getting completely messed up and not falling into that rhythm, knowing that, you know, we just need to click off some laps.
Yeah. Well, it's a good point, and it does look slick out there. There's no doubt.
Well, and the track's getting slicker, you know, Brian. You did notice that the first race, even though there was a lot of wrecks. That first race started at 11 in the morning in the sim. The second race starting around noon. This third one starting around 1 o'clock. So the sun is getting hotter. The track temp is going up. There's getting to be more rubber on the racetrack as we've built these servers to sort of progress as the cars would have progressed if we were running these races back to back to back. So, Brian, really quick before we go back to green, you've transferred into qualifying. Open the 2-round qualifying coming up next week is open setups. Can you tell me about your strategy?
Yeah, we're gonna have to put in a lot of effort. Honestly, I haven't put hardly any effort into a setup until I didn't want to put any effort in until I knew I had transferred. So now I've got a lot of work to do. So I'm gonna fire at the stream and like try some stuff and keep everybody updated on my setup, and how fast I'm going. I think we can all work together to put on a great race, and I think it'll be really exciting. I'm so looking forward to this, man. This is probably one of the sim racing highlights of my year.
Love it. Best of luck, bud.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Brian Blackford there as the big green flag comes back out here to start us back at lap 22. Tucker Minter once again out in front like he's been since the drop of the green flag, but he's got a new contender to deal with in Colin Keister there in the second position. As we look back at Blake McCandless from the Kevin McAdams machine, we look out the windshield of the Brad Slaughter Jr. machine as well. Great views all the way around this racetrack as the field comes back up to speed, Parker.
Yeah, we see they're side by side back there with AJ Henderson, the Shore King. It starts to get side by side, and love this off the rear bumper of Kevin McAdams looking back there. That's a pretty cool shot, just watching these cars bounce around, and hopefully keep it green for a while, guys. Let's keep it green.
Cars bouncing, sparks flying. I mean, are these things bottoming out, Parker? I didn't think you could get these cars slow to the ground.
I don't know. Did we should mention this is fixed setup tonight. We didn't want to, as we heard there with Brian Blackford, we didn't want anyone working on setups till they knew they were in to the other side of this through the first round. So this is fixed setup. And I mean, Landon, did we mess up this setup at all? We're definitely seeing the things bottom out a little bit, but I didn't feel that really when we were testing it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that the cars are just that way anyways, and they're contact on the back stretch underneath the yellow line. That's not against the rules here in 1987. Can use the whole racetrack, but losing momentum for Wadi Bama. That's Derek Watkins.
Alexander Russell's up in the fence. He saved it. That was Derek Watkins that made that save halfway down the back straightaway. I don't know how he did that. That was incredible as they were scattering around that transfer position. Look at the transfer spot cam. Brad Slaughter Jr. battling with Alex Kolonix. I can tell you, Parker, Alex Kolonix has been very vocal during this race, bemoaning the fact that everyone is racing when they're locked into the top 11. He has done it a handful of times, if not more, urging his competitors not to race each other in the race that they're currently running as he blocks off the advances of Mike Rasimus, trying to hold on to his top 11 position.
Understand his point, but remember, if you're sitting there in 8th or 9th or 10th, you don't feel very safe because you might have a top lane that's starting to form with 4 cars. Oh, they get together a little bit off 4, they keep it together. Wow, this is tight stuff. They're bumping into each other. You can tell how slick it is. But remember, some of these drivers, a lot of them have not pitted, and they're not going to pit with how many cautions we've had. So these tires are just going to get worse and worse. This track is heating up. It's getting slicker. This is impressive showing by all these drivers to stay side by side like this. But they're definitely going to have to find themselves single file a little bit because if they want to keep this clean.
Yeah, I mean 2x2x2 it's got me stressed out. With this track. Yeah, I'm very nervous. Blake McCandless inside of the 3rd row there. Controller King AJ, obviously 4 rows back. You can't feel safe at all.
We take a look from the onboard shot here with the Coca-Cola Series driver Blake Reynolds out the front. You see he's got his hands full, and you see those hands to the left side of his cam right there. Working that steering wheel gives you an idea of just how physical a lap is around here, even for a driver of that caliber. Riding the high side, second in line on the outside lane behind Colin Keister. He's got David Brown up his bumper right now, pushing him down the backstretch as Slaughter will move down to the inside lane, opening up the gap for Alex Kolonix. Kolonix with that big run there, and again, holding on to that spot. Everybody locked in here as we're working lap 26. probably within 10 minutes or so of this race being completed. So again, looks like it's going to be a timed event as opposed to laps, unless they go green for a while here. AJ thought about 3 wide through the tri-oval, just not going to be a good move. Parker, you talked about low percentage moves. That was definitely one of them. He wisely backed out.
And we're seeing a lot of cars get super loose and slide off of turn 4, and that's been a trouble spot throughout testing. Oh, we got a caution. They also were getting all sorts of sideways here in the front pack, so this is getting tricky. That was some great racing, but we'll definitely now be in a time situation. We'll not be able to complete all the laps, so if you see that laps to go, that's not actually how many it will be. It'll actually go to time here with this latest caution, but it's this has been some great racing when we are in the green. I feel like this is some of the best racing we've seen all night amongst all these drivers, and it's interesting. You see the guys even up in the top 5 racing as hard as they are, knowing they're locked in.
Well, Parker, I mean, it really it shows that this is going to be a great race when we get to these open setups. The drivers that have advanced through, we're going to get to watch them all drive, make single car qualifying. What happened there, David? What brought out our caution?
That was the 24 of Ryan Borges, who caught the wall coming out of turn 4. And again, like we've seen so many times, brings the car back down the track, gets into the right rear quarter panel as he's saving it of Chris Demarest. In the number 10, Demarest gets hooked into the outside wall, out of control, back across the track, right into the path of the 92 of Rinderknecht, and Rinderknecht nowhere to go. He goes into the outside fence as well, and everyone scatters. Another car involved, that's Sean Petchin in the number 1, as he tried to avoid, and he gets clipped by Rinderknecht. So a lot of cars clipping each other at high speed, and that's going to be the result, is 3 or 4 cars get out of shape. But wouldn't you know it, the car that starts it all off, Ryan Borges, in that number 24 machine, Parker, is the one that walks away with the least amount of damage.
I mean, I'm not surprised by anything anymore with these cautions. I feel like, oh, Landon still got his jacket, man. You've held on too long. You've held on too long.
Take it off. Take it off, baby. Take it off.
Take that rag.
I got Bumper in here. I got Bumper in here saying hello. My dog.
Look,
in the booth.
You got to take that raggedy thing off and, get some style here. We're all embarrassed looking at that thing.
Yeah, you divorce lawyer looking.
What is that?
If there's anything wrong with this jacket.
It looks like an old mop you use to clean, your shed or something, or your lawnmower at this point.
Wait, who uses a mop to clean a lawnmower? Parker, hold on. Mop for a lawnmower.
I don't know. I meant like a rag. I didn't use mop. But I mean, at this point, who can blame us? We've been on here a while.
In the work.
Yeah, we've been here a while. We got dogs joining the booth. I mean, This dog is great. Love that guy.
Come here, Bumper.
I thought you were talking about Blackbird. I was gonna say that's not very nice.
Yeah, dogs in the booth. Oh man, Brian, we love you.
The booth. Speaking of joining the booth, we'll welcome you into the virtual booth here again. David Schildhouse with Parker Kligerman, Landon Cassill, bringing you some coverage of tonight's INFRA Challenge 100s. 4 races tonight, 4 races tomorrow to set the 88 driver field for next week's qualification, 2-round qualification setting. The field ultimately for the Firecracker 200 and then the Firecracker 400 on July 1st. We've been having some fun up here. Hope you've been enjoying it as well. Wherever you're tuning in from, on Twitch, on Facebook, through eracer.gg, wherever you're finding us, we're happy to have you here, and hope you're enjoying the racing. It's been great when we've been able to go green flag racing, Parker. Really been enjoyable stuff, but these caution flags have certainly been the bane of our existence. These guys are struggling, but again, when the racing has happened, it's been outstanding.
David, it's the most frustrating part, and I feel with all the drivers, we've heard the frustration a little bit, because when they are under green, and I felt this too when we did some of those practice races, Landon, is that when you're under green, it is so much fun to drive these cars. That's why this event, I think, got so many interested in it. It's so much fun to drive these. It's so much fun to race them. But the reason it's fun is it's very difficult. So, it's a catch-22 because you then get a lot of cautions, which can just be very frustrating. But you said it. When it's been green, it's been awesome. It's been great racing. Colin Keister did one of the moves of the night, possibly one of the moves of week 1 of the Firecracker 400 event. I'm thinking that was incredible. And right now we got Mike Razimus, who's on the transfer spot as we put Colin Keister on there. And we're coming down to what might be just a couple laps left to fight to find yourself going and transferring in that top 88 that will go into 2-round qualifying.
There's no telling. There's something about not having downforce, Parker, isn't it? I mean, us drivers, we love it. We love not having downforce because these cars don't have a lot of horsepower. There's not a lot of steam. Go get in your iRacing sim and try to drive one. They don't get off a pit road that hard, but man, when you get them up to speed, it's hard to get them to stop and it's hard to get them to turn. That's what makes the racing fun, I think.
What makes it a stock car.
That's what makes it a stock car. Yeah, we love that. So, this car's a lot of fun. This is our last race coming up after this one. We're gonna have Denny Hamlin in the field. Excited to see how he does. He told me he wasn't gonna qualify very well, which I don't think that's a good thing. Denny, you need the track position. So hopefully you're working on qualifying right now.
Definitely not. But we're coming to the green flag here, David. We gotta say in the transfer spot right now, Mike Rasmus, to see if he can hold on to it.
There we go. The final big green egg, green flag of INFRA Challenge number 3 here tonight. Tucker Minter has been leading them all. Colin Keister in the second spot. Not a great restart for him. Getting back up through the gears allows Minter to jump out to about a 5-car length advantage as they steam off to turn 1, single file on the bottom. And again, another hole developed around Alex Kolonix as well. Very spread out around that transfer spot. Racima's in a good spot right now. Andrew Fitzgerald looking to get it.
Transfer spot cam by Transervice up in the top right. Keep your eye up there. They're all over the place right now. That's Mike Rasmus. He's from Beacon, New York. He's 19th in Road to Pro points. Hopefully he can hold on to it. That'd be a huge night for him. So we see, Colin Keister, the outside of Minter. They're still racing for the lead, and it doesn't matter.
They're wrecking in turn 3. They're trying to save it. It was Dalton Dudley who went around. They're not saving that. Oh my gosh. Alexander Russell in the Starcom car flying through the air as 6,
Big
7,
wreck.
10 cars go around outside of turn number 4. They're coming out of turn 4, I'm trying to say, as Russell is driving backwards now to get back to the checkered flag. All that going on behind the fact of Colin Keister swiping the lead away in the closing moments of this race. And I do believe Colin Keister will win INFRA Challenge race number 3.
So, wasn't so low percentage then to go for the win. Basically can say he won one of these
What a drive.
nights. Yeah, incredible.
Now, who do you think is going to be most upset to see him win this? Ed Carpenter, right?
Well,
Very much so.
Definitely. And, Ed, it was an unfortunate move that he made on Ed there because Ed was in such a good position. And we know Ed put a lot of practice into this, so he'll be definitely upset. So we get the replay here of what happened in the back. We're on board with Dalton Dudley. Oh, he just starts to lose it a little bit and starts to collect a ton of cars, and then it just becomes a ping-pong pinball match back there. I don't know. That's not a Ventrac blowover. That's a knockover, so we can't count that one. But yeah, that got a lot of people.
That was ugly. Ugly event right there for Dalton Dudley to bring this race to an end. For Dudley, it was within shouting range. He was in 13th at the time, guys, when he lost control going into 3 and then just collected a whole bunch of cars. It was basically from 13th on back. Pretty much everybody was involved there. Again, Alexander Russell with the huge vault into the air and everyone just piling in behind that. So unfortunate that Dalton couldn't channel his inner Greg Biffle with that National Guard paint scheme, but that's racing. He was going for it, just couldn't hold on to it. And again, not the first time we've seen that type of incident tonight. Somebody's just losing control of the rear as they get into the corner. It's stepping out, and around they go.
So this should be the final lap, right?
Yep.
So I don't think we saw anyone who's in the top 11 pull at what used to be a Mark Martin and now is maybe known as a Tyler Reddick, deciding to stop on the white flag. So it looks like as long as they keep it together here, your current top 11 will be the top 11 that transfer here on this final lap. I know this isn't quite the excitement of ending under green, but it's what we're stretching for right now. So hopefully everyone makes it around.
Well, hopefully we can get Controller King, AJ Anderson, in the
Get him in the booth.
Let's get him in the booth here and talk about his transfer. Obviously, Rasmus made it in as well.
It's like Andrew Fitzgerald would be the first one out, which is that's devastating.
We can get Blake McCandless in the booth here as well.
Yeah, we'll see if we can take in some drivers here to get and talk to them before we jump into the final race of night 1 in the Firecracker 400.
Oh, I see. All right, here we go. I got this. Let me handle this fellow who just dragged in here. Mr. F4 Speed, Blake McCandless, joins us here in the booth, about to finish this race in the 5th position. Blake, how about it?
How about it, boys? We're in. Let's go.
A great drive for you. You started up front, you ran up front, you stayed up front, all the craziness behind you. I know there's a lot in this race for you, the special paint scheme. Anyone who follows you on Twitter, and I recommend you follow this man on Twitter, put up a great video about the history of this livery and the paint scheme that you have, and now you find yourself making it in and transferring. Tell me what that means to you.
It means a lot, David. We have a close family that's, just full of a lot of great people. And obviously my grandfather is no exception to that. And to kind of take a moment to appreciate his racing career. Haven't seen him in a while with COVID and everything going on. I'm sure he's been living under a car or somewhere in his shop, working on, restoring cars for our museum in Burlington. And so he's been able to do that. We'll finally be able to see him for Father's Day. So to kind of wrap that up and not only be able to run this scheme, but be able to put it in the show and now have to look forward to that, it's pretty special for sure.
You gave it a great run. And was there any Evan Pasoko powering you here tonight?
Well, there may have been just a little bit here as they were side by side. Colin Keister, though, able to get up to the front of the field and win, much like you would see in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, but he's able to get it done tonight as well.
Blake, fantastic job. Fantastic job. Happy for you to get that car into the show, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week for the qualification process. Good job, man.
Absolutely. And before I go, huge shout out to Landon Parker, everybody that's behind the scenes that puts this on. Like, this is going to change how these events are done in the future. The effort you guys have put in to, just do the little things, be involved in these races, be involved in your chats and on social media. It's made a huge difference. And, it's a reason why y'all are going to be sitting here for 8 hours running prelim races. Y'all did a fantastic job with it. And, it's awesome to be a part of an event like this that you guys have done such a good job with.
Appreciate it, bud.
Thank you, Blake.
Thanks for being a part of it. Look forward to seeing you in the qualifying rounds, bud. And keep doing those impressions. It's uncanny how good you are at doing Evan Pasoko, who's an incredible commentator himself.
A bit creepy.
All right, so that was Blake McCandless, gets himself a fifth place finish there, and let's take a look at the way they came across the line. Get you your finishing results from INFRA Challenge number 3. It was Colin Keister with the power move down the back straightaway to put himself in a position, and he holds on to win, snatching the lead away on the final green flag lap over Tucker Minter, who led the bulk of this race. Kevin McAdams comes home in the 3rd position. Blake Reynolds 4th. Blake McCandless, who we just talked to there, in 5th. David Brown comes home in the 6th position. Brad Slaughter Jr. in 7th. Alex Kolonix, the big talker in this race, holds on for an 8th place finish. Michael Jeans in 9th. I know he'll be pleased with that. And Mike Rasmus will hold on for a top 10 finish. And the 11th driver making it in, Parker, is going to be Andrew Fitzgerald in that 11th and final transfer spots.
So, yeah, there was a little bit of updating there from the results that we had when we thought it was basically on the final lap. So Andrew Fitzgerald, we thought would be the first one out. He's actually in. So in the 11th spot, he transfers to Derek Watkins, who actually finds himself in 12th. That's a heartbreaker. 1,500 I rating. That would have been huge for him. Caleb Bensi, Jason Barum, Jake Bustos, Ryan Borges, John Garrett, Rich Jameson, Chris Demarest, and Nadir Rindernecht. Is that how you say it?
I think
in 20th.
Rindernecht.
Nice.
Rindernecht, yeah. Sean Petchin, Nate Trito, Alexander Russell, Nick Foster, Gabe Allen, AJ Henderson, 26. I think that these results actually might be. I didn't see AJ getting tore up there. Rit Cadote, Tyler Wood, Ishmael Martinez, Dalton Dudley in 30th.
To put these up for review, there might have been something that went a little wonky.
Yeah, we'll say these are unofficial. So I think
these are unofficial.
Unlike the first 2 races, I'm realizing that now. Unlike the first 2 races that finished under time, this one actually had, for some reason, a restart where the pace car pulled off and positions changed hands. So unfortunately, I'm gonna go to the last lap and tell you the top 11 as I see it is Keister, Minter, McAdams, Reynolds, McCandless. Brown, Slaughter, Kolonix in 8th, Jeans 9th, AJ Henderson in 10th, and Mike Rasmus in 11th. The final car making it in unofficially, but that is, as I see it, the last lap that they completed to finish this race. Your top 11. Everything else is going to be unofficial. So unfortunately, can't get you a full rundown there. But from what I see, that those are your 11 making it in. Rasmus, the last one in, but AJ Henderson should be good in 10th.
Well, it wouldn't be prelim night without a little bit of controversy, right? So,
That's right. And little controversy, tough race there. I actually have a character from the controversy. Unfortunately, for the short end of the stick, I've got Ed Carpenter in here, who got turned off the nose of Keister, ultimately the race winner. Ed?
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to see Keister go on to win that. Of all the guys I thought I might get taken out by, I didn't think it would be one of the pro racers, but that's the way it goes. It was fun. I was hoping to be able to be a part of round 2 in the final event, but I'll come back and play with you guys next time you have a race.
It's awesome, Ed. We appreciate it. You know, you qualified well. We saw you put in a lot of practice. You know, you ran yourself in the transfer spot as needed. What was the trick to finding the speed to be able to be competitive against that tough of a field of drivers?
I mean, I think it's, being a pro driver, I think a lot of the things that you do to go fast in qualifying, just being smooth, not scrubbing speed, not bogging the car down, definitely helped me be in a fixed setup to not have to worry about the setup and just focus on driving. And, a lot of the IndyCar stuff we did when we were doing the IndyCar iRacing Challenge, the things that we were doing driving wise to go fast on the speedways on that kind of carried over to this car, even though it drives different. But, I learned things in that carried over to this and allowed me to have some speed. So bummed out that I can't take part. If you end up having any provisionals, I'll jump in and try to qualify.
Deal.
Well, we appreciate that, Ed. And we'll see you next time, and we'll see you on the LCQ League. How about that?
We will see you on the LCQ for sure. No one goes home.
That's right. Nobody goes home. Everybody gets a trophy in the LCQ League. That's the wonderful thing.
Yeah, and I learned today that I'm the winningest driver in there so far. So that's kind of cool.
That is that's quite a title.
It's all I've got going right now.
Best of luck in the real world racing, and thanks, Bud, for participating. It was really awesome to see you here, and we'll look forward to having you again.
It was a good time. Good luck the rest of the way. See ya.
Thanks, Bud.
Well, there you go. Ed Carpenter, as expected, disappointed to see who won that race.
Let's talk to another one here. I want to get our controller king in the booth, AJ Henderson. He ran in the top 10 all night in the transfer spot. We had you finishing 10th, AJ, and then I don't know if there's some timing issues or if we had something on the board. We're going to have to go back and review it. But AJ Henderson, before we get to the finish, just tell us about your race. I mean, you showed up, you brought it, and you did what you always do. You run up front.
Yeah, that was a very interesting race. I assumed we were all just going to sit around and relax at the front, but then a couple guys decided they wanted to race pretty hard, which, nothing against that. And then everybody decided that we were all going to race very hard. And I cut it close there near the end. And then, after when we come across for the checkered flag there at the end, some of the guys checked up, and I went down on the pit road after we passed the start-finish line. So I think there's some sort of timing glitch there. They gave me a black flag.
Oh, well, we're gonna have to check that out and hopefully.
Just tell the truth, AJ. You cheated. Just tell the truth. You cheated to get there.
Yeah, I put some booster packs on my controller, and iRacing figured it out.
I knew it. They always get the ones who cheat. You cannot outsmart the system, AJ.
Yeah, it's good anti-cheat. They got that good anti-cheat.
That's right. Well, AJ, thank you so much. We're gritting for our final race. I think we've got Denny Hamlin qualified 14th. Quite a storyline here for our final prelim race. Let's check out the starting grid, David.
All right, leading him to the green flag here, the pole sitter from Slip Angle Motorsports, Jake Nichols, will be inside of row number 1 to his outside. A fellow hard competitor to pass and beat, and from the NASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series, Jimmy Mullis, the outside of row number 1. Brian Day will roll off from the 3rd position. It'll be Tom Abromaitis in fourth. I'm pretty sure I got that one wrong. Briar LaPrade from Burton Kligerman Esports will take the fifth starting position. Garrett Conrath in sixth. Joseph Galata in seventh. Andy Hunter in eighth. Garrett Pick ninth. And Brian Mullen will round out the top 10.
And we got Michael Guest back in 11th. Joseph Santoro in 12th. Robert Hall in 13th. We've got Denny Hamlin. You said it, Landon. He is 14th. He was not confident about how he was going to qualify, but somehow mustered some speed. That's a great starting position. A lot better than his teammate there from Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch, in the earlier race. Hopefully he can find himself racing in that top 11. 15th is Dennis Field, and 16th, Josh Lambert.
Brendan Cooper with a 1924, starting 17th. John J. Douglas, 18th. As we see Stephen Pierre with his C license and a 1500, Gary Sexton. Ford Martin, the commissioner of the Monday Night League that Parker had a four race win streak. Got
three
snapped,
races.
or was it three race win streak?
Going for four,
got
yeah.
snapped by a bounty. They put a bounty on your head, Parker.
I know. I'm devastated. And I
Ford's
think
a
there was
media member.
collusion there, but nonetheless, move on.
Ford's a great media member, son of Gil Martin. We've got Aaron Owen inside row 13, Ken Saska, Fernando Sosa, Tony Brent, Kevin Woods, Matt Dixon outside row 15.
Derek Conley coming from the 31st position. Noah Lewis in 32nd. David Demarest in 33rd. Paul Sutton, 34th. Noah Turpak, 35th. John Fix, 36th. Last car taken time there. Other starters tonight will be Thomas McGregor, Ross Brockman, Chris Whitaker, Paul Wilson, and John Elliott, rounding out the 41-car field. Big shout-out to Skullface ZH for the big mega raid there into your stream, Landon, bringing a whole bunch of people over to watch the fourth and final INFRA Challenge 100 race here tonight, all leading into the Firecracker 400 on July 1st. So welcome in, everybody. Hope you've been enjoying it. Sit back, relax, enjoy our final Challenge 100 here tonight as we get ready for the green flag. And maybe we will see a clean race yet. Jake Nichols will be the man in control. Pace car is going to make the hard left-hand turn onto pit road, and the big green flag comes out in the air. Nichols and Mullis get the field underway as they go past Barney the Flagman for the first time down into turn one, all too wide, all the way through the field.
This is what we normally see off the start. It's 2x2, about 10 rows back. They're all jockeying position, although we normally see it sort of be a fight for the bottom. We'll see if that outside line has some momentum here in the early laps. Hopefully they keep it clean in the back of the field. We haven't quite seen that throughout the night. It's been where a lot of our wrecks are happening. There's a bit of a separation there midfield as they head off into turn three side by side at the front, Landon.
Little push for Nichols out from the fellow Coke Series driver, Jimmy Mullis. Almost a little bit of a two-car tango there, Parker. What do you think? You think these cars can lock bumpers once we get a field of pros?
Well, we may have just witnessed it. It's like 2009 Talladega or 2008 Daytona. We're just starting to learn in 1987 that maybe that's a possibility in the sim. We'll see if that continues through the night. But, David, this is some excellent racing at the front. Guys all sort of using the outside lane, the bottom lane, and jockeying for position cleanly.
Little loose off the two there.
Yeah, I'm trying not to jinx it too much. It is great racing. I'm knocking on wood right now, but yeah, Jake Nichols continues to pace this field. Brian Day is slotted into that second position as nearly contact there between Tom Abramitis and Joseph Galata going into three. They get it sorted out around that 10th position. That was a close call right there, but Nichols and Day pulling away from the field just a little bit, working that draft really nicely.
Guys, we got Denny Hamlin, who was just in the transfer position, then fell out of it. So this is really interesting as we're looking at that transfer spot cam and the Denny Hamlin cam, watching him. This is a very tricky spot to be for him. He's right there on the transfer. He's going to have to keep it clean and try to find himself further up in the top 10 to get some buffer between himself and that transfer.
Beautiful paint scheme, too, for Denny Hamlin in the Federal Express Toyota Celica. He's right up against the wall in 3 and 4, right on that transfer spot. 2x2, the leader's so clean so far.
Yeah, and he had someone up there a little bit closer to the wall, just avoided them. Starting to get single file. This is good to see. Maybe I don't even want to say it. I'm not even going to say it.
Don't say it, Parker.
I'm not going to say it.
Don't.
You know, Parker, you know what's about to happen, though, is the tires are starting to fall off. It only takes about 3 laps. The tires get up to temperature, as you see some tight action there off of turn 2 with the 88. The cars are going to start sliding around more. They're going to get loosened at turn 3. The drivers that have been trying to hold it wide open aren't going to be able to do that anymore. I could see someone getting loose up high, little tank slapper in turn 3. And the caution is out. We just talked it right into
We got
existence.
one. Kevin Wood in that number 26 machine goes around. I'm not sure exactly what happened. He was well off the pace, guys. Hard to get a look at him, as I think he was struggling with a connection issue as well. And from what I can see, the car just struggling, and then it's gone. And the next thing I see, it's spun around. So something not right there for the Kevin Woods machine. I think he had contact ultimately with another car that drove
That's
through
Dad
him.
Gamer Swiss driving that card right there too, Kevin Wood.
Well, you don't like to see that.
Unfortunate.
We're all based. I think if anyone knows his story, you'd root for him right now. So that's unfortunate to hear. But I was impressed, to bring it back to the racing, about that front group. Denny Hamlin finds himself in that transfer spot right now. They were starting to get a little separation there for a moment, and it looked like it would be a really good position, but then we had that caution, unfortunately. So hopefully we can get back under green and do more of that, because that was some of the best racing we've seen tonight.
Yeah, it was outstanding racing. To touch on Kevin Woods one more time, you can find him on Twitch at Dad Gamer Swiss. Outstanding content creator, does outstanding paint work, sim racing, everything. So I highly recommend you look him up here on the Twitch platform, Dad Gamer Swiss. If you know him, you know why we love him so much.
David, he crowdfunded his entry for this race. So his stream talked him into doing it. He was looking at it. I had rated him at one point, and the stream were the ones that got together and put up the money for him to enter in this race.
Yeah, a beautiful demonstration of what this community is so great at, and really has shown everyone who's been a part of it over the past 2-3 months the way it can touch and affect content creators, streamers, and for Kevin Wood to have his community rally behind him. And I know he's a great member of my community as well. I love seeing him in chat, rating him, and when he comes over to mine, and to see everyone get behind him to get him into this event really was a powerful statement. And he'll get that thing fixed up. Looks like he's electing not to take his quick repair. Car doesn't look too bad, quite honestly. The front end's a little beat up, and back end has a little bit of damage to the right rear. But you know what? I think he'll be okay if he can stay out of trouble, keep that quick repair in his back pocket for later, and we might see Kevin Woods back towards the front.
David, we got Denny Hamlin on camera. Look at that paint scheme. Look at that old car.
So
like he's in there just chewing on some bubble gum.
Well, we actually have to update. I just took a look at that car, and on the back, it does not say Celica. It says Toyota Supra. So, yeah, this is even cooler.
Wow.
Toyota Supra Celica. It says Super Celica. So, we need. I actually don't know my Supra lineage as much as I should back to that time, but that is an interesting combination on that Toyota there.
I'll tell you something. In 1987, the Supra did not look like it does today. That much is for sure. It was kicking in 1987, and there's a very large cult following around that particular generation. You had your Mark III, I think, was in 1987. I'm sure someone in chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was called the A70 Supra Turbo, introduced in 1987, 3-liter 6-cylinder. A great year for the Supras, and very well loved by a lot of people.
I'm now going to call you Rutledge Wood from now on, knowing he'd start latching poetical about the 2JZ engine out there, and we'd end up on a whole thing about Super Street Magazine. But back to the racing here in the Firecracker 400. I love that paint scheme. Very cool to see you, Denny Hamlin, bringing that flair here on night one of the prelims.
Well, there you go. Yeah, beautiful paint schemes all around for all these cars. I know we haven't talked about it a whole lot tonight. We've seen some of it. You look at the current leader, Briar LaPrade. Patriot Briar, you can find him on Twitch as well with that Ledford Billiards Supply machine. Great looking race car. Funny guy. I love Briar. Teammate of mine here on Burton Kligerman Esports. So I'm not biased whatsoever when I say that it's great to see him leading this field. I almost said that with a. I couldn't stop myself from laughing as I said that because it's obvious bias, but great to see him out front.
I'll let it go. I'll let it go.
Second and third. I know, Parker, you probably don't have a problem with it, seeing your boy up front here leading. Lisenby did a great job as well, and we've had some great representation here tonight for sure. Trevor Perry did a great job. As you looked at the rest of this field, Jake Nichols, you saw there, our pole sitter in third, Andy Hunter there in fifth, Garrett Conrath in sixth. Jimmy Mullis, 7th, Garrett Pick, Brian Mullen, and Tom Abromaitis in that 10th position as we get ready for the restart here. Briar LaPrad's going to lead him down, sort of splitting the racing surface. Big green egg, green flag back in the air. We've seen him start up against the wall. We've seen him start on the yellow line, and now Briar LaPrade brings the field up through the gears in the middle of the track. Single file for everybody. A couple of gaps developing, but so far clean and green.
An onboard shot. See, they make the move to the outside. We're on board with Brian LaPad, and that bumper's so close, pushing him down the backstretch.
That's a beautiful shot. You know, Parker, you can bump draft with these cars. These are probably some of the best bump drafting cars, but it's got to be dead square and it's got to be down the straightaway. You can't give them a push getting into the corner.
Now you got to be really careful. They get really light down into the corner. So right on board Jimmy Mullis, eNASCAR driver for Richmond Raceway Esports, and just all-around big iRacing talent. But you see those cars pitch sideways into the corner. That's what you have to do to get them into the corner. Well, you got, especially up top, you got to pitch it sideways. You got a car with a blown engine down there. Hopefully it gets off the racetrack, doesn't pull out a caution. That'd be great. No caution, no caution. I'm bringing back the chant. We'll just hold them off and keep green here.
There's your transfer spot, Denny Hamlin as well. Right on the outside. He needs to be careful running that high, but he's right there in that 11th, 12th, 13th. Just need to keep
battling with Gary Sexton there. Gary Sexton holding down a very bright paint scheme. No surprise there. He loves his bright colors. Dirty Air here on Twitch. Gary Sexton doing a great job there in the 14th position. They're 3 wide in 1-2. Jimmy Moore caught in the middle. He got caught in the middle, and they saved it. It was Brian Day up on the high side, dropping from the 3rd position all the way back outside the top 10 in one corner. But they were 3 wide, Parker. I don't know how they didn't all wreck right there. Denny Hamlin going 3 wide himself. Oh, the leader turned onto the apron. That's the 11 of Andy Hunter back up in front of the field, and they don't wreck. How? How do they
Lots
not wreck
of contact.
The fence? Oh my gosh, we stay green.
Denny Hamlin ran hard in the back of another car. I couldn't quite tell what it was, but we stay green. I think he's actually pretty good on the damage side.
Wow. And go 3 wide, Parker, for the transfer spot, and there's the caution.
There it is.
Aaron Owen in the 43 just got turned here on the front straightaway right before the flag stand. They were 3 wide with Joseph Jones and Joseph Santoro. And that was Aaron Owen on the outside, who just got clipped as Jones was almost on the apron going through the tri-oval. It was only a matter of time, Parker, with all the racing action we saw, the big slides and all that. How they didn't wreck, I'll never know. But then we finally got that wreck, and perhaps if I'm going to say it, perhaps a well-timed caution for everyone to catch their breath.
Yeah, well, we get a chance to look at that. You know, when anything happens in the front of the field, especially when they're packed up like that, it's going to be really tough to avoid. But that was sort of a calamity from all sides, all ends. And then we saw in the back after they got sort of bunched up, they were just all over the place, getting turned down to the tribal. But it really started all the way up front, and we saw a lot of the leaders do a bunch of bumper tag as it all happened. And Denny Hamlin got a fair amount of right front damage. I don't think he's going to have to pit. I think he can actually continue on as I looked at it up close. So we'll see what decisions they get made here, but that was crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it moved Denny back to 13th. He had been hovering around the transfer spot. But how about the leader, Garrett Pick, with a 32.27 BI rating, leading Michael Guest, eNASCAR, Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. How do you feel right now if you're leading this race and you're Garrett Pick? You're just hoping for top 11, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, he's in the best spot. What great experience. That's a
feeling
great place
great.
to be. He's got Jake Nichols there, Jimmy Mullis. I mean, that's a stacked group of drivers. Brian LaPrade there. I mean, this is those are no slouches at all that he's going to go up against. But that's when you get better as you're up against those guys.
If I'm him, I'm loving it. I'm feeling good. I'm saying, hey, it don't matter what color my license is. It can be green, yellow, orange, or red. It doesn't matter. We're all in this race together, and I'm up front leading, and you're not. So how's the view from back there? That's what I'd be saying.
That's right.
So that's going to be Garrett Pick, who inherited that lead in that tense moment that saw Andy Hunter get shot down below the yellow line before they got to turn 3. And I know I was yelling at the top of my lungs, but I was holding my breath simultaneously, because it's never good when you see a car get turned like that coming down off the racing groove onto the apron, and you know he's sliding back up into the racing groove. And how they didn't wreck, everyone had the awareness to give him space to save that car, as you see it in the bottom right. It slid up in front, a little bit of contact there, but they kept it all going the right direction, and that's 9 times out of 10, Parker. That is a huge wreck, and these drivers, they kept it together. That's super impressive. Just welcome you back into the broadcast booth. David Schildhouse, Parker Kligerman, Landon Cassill here. Parker, that wreck, that or non-wreck, I guess. What do you make of that?
Well, that was I looked, throughout all of them there, and the one thing I have to ask is why you're at the front, right? We take the top 11. It doesn't pay anything to win this race. It doesn't pay any difference to finish 11th or 1st in this race. All those 11 cars move forward. So why you're, blocking and getting spun out of, a top 3 position, to me doesn't make much sense. But we've put all these drivers on a big stage and given them this platform to show their skills, and I think a lot of them want to take advantage of that and to run up front and try to win. And we saw Colin Keister do it. He took a ton of risk in the last race and went on to win it from far in the back, and that was just because you could tell he wanted to win. So what is it, the old Dale Earnhardt mantra, Landon? It's not the one with the fastest car, it's the one who refuses to lose.
That's definitely true. I mean, it's these races have shown to be a race of grit, and I think that's this entire event is an event of grit. You've had to put in practice time. You've had to run these practice races and feel, where your car is at and how to keep off of other drivers, how to miss the wrecks. And then now you've got to execute. I mean, we've shown now at this point, we've talked about wanting to qualify up front, but Parker, nowhere is safe. I mean, these guys are wrecking all over. So, you had to execute on keeping your car in one piece. And then when we move to qualifying, you're going to have to build your setup. You're going to have to test it. You're going to have to run 1-lap qualifying runs. We're not going to have a blend rule. You're going to be pulling straight out on the racetrack, just like you would in real life. The weather is going to be unpredictable. We're using real-time weather, just like it was in Daytona. Parker, I think you might have set the servers today. What's the weather in Daytona like?
Yeah, well, actually, it was our one of our teammates there, Josh. But
Joshua.
I think it was when I looked last. I want to say it was like 82 degrees by 12 o'clock or something.
Track is slick.
Yeah,
we have no idea what it's going to be like for these upcoming races. The 200, the 400, no resets. Looks like iRacing just waved off the caution here.
I think we had
one more lap.
Little issue there, but we'll take one more lap here and then we'll get them under green again. We should remind everyone this is 40 laps or 40 minutes. So we see what comes first. Most of them have been time limited, but hopefully this is the first one. Maybe we get a chance to finish this one under green and all 40 laps.
We were certainly on pace to do that with the amount of green flag racing that we had before that yellow came out, as the lights will go back out atop the pace car. We will have 2 cars lining up on the inside lane. It's going to be John Elliott in the number 18. It's painted up with a 72 on the door. And Kevin Woods in that number 26 machine currently scored in the 40th position, 1 lap down. So those 2 lapped vehicles will be starting inside the leaders. They're going to have to get their laps back the old-fashioned way. And for Kevin Woods, really want to see him get that lap back to get back onto the lead lap and give himself a shot at competing in this thing at the frequency that we've seen yellow flags. if he can get in front of that leader and the yellow flag flies, he'll be in good shape. But those will be the two cars lining up on the inside lane. We got, let's take a look at the top 10 here before we get to the restart. Garrett Pick, Michael Guest, Briar LaPrade, Jake Nichols, and Garrett Conrath in 5th. Jimmy Mullis, Brian Mullen, Andy Hunter, Joseph Galata, and Tom Abromaitis will be in that 10th position as they work into turn 3, boys. So we'll see if they can get this green flag run back underway. Of the 4 races that we have watched here tonight, this has certainly been the one that has shown the most green flag potential and execution. So I want to believe that that they'll be able to do that again as we get ready for another restart here.
I think we can. We're going to get the transfer spot cam here up in the top right on board Josh Lambert. We got the Barney cam. This is going to, I feel it. This is going to be a great green flag run here.
There we go. Big green egg. Green flag back in the air, and Pick is underway. Getting a good shove on an outside lane from Guest and LaPrade. Jake Nichols right there as well. Pick will move down to the bottom and bring as many as he can with him as that's Nichols working past. Conrath bringing Mullis and Mullen with him as well. Those lap cars on the inside not quite up to speed as the top 9 cars or so will get free and clear of them. And a little bit of a gap back to 10th with Tom Abromaitis.
Yeah, we're looking on board there, Josh Lambert in the transfer spot cam. But behind him, it's actually, it's Denny Hamlin just 2 spots behind him. You see him there in that 11 Federal Express car. Going up top. Oh, the 23 gets, we got 2 cars getting sideways. They might be able to keep it on green. No, they don't.
That's the lap traffic.
Caution.
I think that was the lap cars that had restarted on the bottom as well.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah, that's John Elliott in 72.
See it.
Yeah, who just misses the entry into the corner and turns Brian Day in that 23 Nike machine, and nowhere for anyone to go, including Robert Hall in the 30. And oh my gosh, that knocks out Kevin Woods is involved in that one. Joseph Jones is involved in that one. Again, Brendan Cooper involved. And the danger of having the lap cars up there, no knock against their talent, but you put them up there if they're a little bit off the pace, then we see the results there as that wipes out a lot of cars. We had the Texaco Haviland machine. Oh my gosh, Thomas McGregor doing a pirouette off the banking there, Parker. That's an ugly scene.
It's just, I mean, we've seen a bit of that, not being able to hold on to it. Being laps down, you wonder what the point is. And I think, that's something we don't want to see. So unfortunate. That doesn't even add to the Ventrac blowover count. So, that's it's a flip over, but it didn't do much to even add to our count of flip overs. Disappointing.
So you're saying this wreck had no value whatsoever?
No value whatsoever, other than that's the best way to put it. None.
Not a great value add. That it's tough. In 1987, the lap cars lined up on the inside. So this was pre-double file restarts. The double file was actually lap cars lining up on the inside, pulling up to the leaders, which that'll be a lot more relevant in the Firecracker 200 and the 400, where it's a 400-mile race. It'll be a little bit more of a factor for drivers trying to get their laps back. So we see the 28 car. That's an old Davey Allison paint scheme. Thomas McGregor trying to miss the wreck on the bottom there, just under the yellow line. You can see the smoke up in front of him.
You got the onboard up top. Oh my gosh! Look at that.
Oh my God!
Oh, it stays a thunder. Oh, he almost had it, and then he didn't. He had it till he didn't.
Parker, he had the right idea by going high, because Daytona is a self-cleaning racetrack, but he got going too slow and had to slide down.
Those ones where you're just sitting there going, got it, oh, I got it, oh, I'm good, oh no, and then it catches you. And he was making all the right moves, and sometimes those just go in your way, and sometimes just in the last second that car pops up out of nowhere like that one, and you're in it. But great moves to start there by McGregor.
So we bring it back into the booth here, and I'll go ahead and say that I cursed that green flag run. So I'll take the blame for that one. Mention the fact that we had a green flag run, and then we immediately got the yellow flag. So that's unfortunate. Commentator's curse, whatever you want to call it. That's ultimately what we got as we worked this yellow flag. Well, we have a minute. Let's see if we got another driver that we can bring in here. I don't know who we got lined up or who we're going to talk to, but let's get somebody in here and get their perspective on it to get some more insight from somebody who's been hitting the track. So when we have somebody ready, we will talk to them. Looks like we're going to bring in.
We've got Kyle
looks like we're bringing in Kyle Putz. All right, Kyle, Schildhouse, Kligerman, and Cassill up here in the booth. You got us?
I got you.
All right, man. You got your race out of the way. You're watching now at this point. From your perspective, what you saw on the track, what have you seen, and what do you expect to see for the rest of this race?
I saw a lot of caution flags, and I'm hoping that we see a lot of green flags. The racing, when it's been green, it's been phenomenal. I mean, in my race that I was in, we were too wide and had a couple close calls, but it was a lot of fun when it stayed green. You know, the race before this and even this race, you had a lot of good battling up front, and you know, it's a blast. I hope that they can keep it up and keep it green for a little bit.
So, Kyle, we have something to discuss with you. There was a point there where you were in 9th and you asked for the checkered flag to be flown. Explain your reasoning and explain your attempt at getting that checkered flag flown.
Well, I mean, top 11 makes it, and it doesn't matter where in the top 11 that you are. As long as you're in the top 11, you go on to the next round. So I was in 9th. I'm like, we're in. If we're just going to run under yellow, let's just end this thing now so that way I don't have to sweat it up for another. I think at that point we had another 9 minutes left of the race. So I was like, let's just get this over with and move on to race 3.
You didn't even need it. So,
Kyle, really quick here, as I think we're getting ready to go back to green, we'll have to catch up with you because you're building a cool trophy for this race, but we're going green here, Kyle. We want to talk about the trophy that you're building.
Stick around, Kyle. We might have a caution again real soon based off of what we've seen. So don't go anywhere as we get our next big green flag here, starting lap number 20. So halfway through this race, next time by, Jimmy Mullis goes up to the top to defend that 3rd position as there's Joseph Galata making the move on the high side. That's going to open the door down low for Garrett Pick, who was leading this race, fell back a little bit and gave that lead to Jake Nichols. Now Pick back on the charge, down the back straightaway on the inside. Nichols moves down to block. They're 3 wide under the yellow line.
Yellow line for the lead. That is legal. We should remind people in 1987 there was no yellow line rule, so there is no yellow line rule here today in this prelim night, race number 4, night 1. Wow, this racing up front has been awesome. That was an incredible move down to the bottom, but it looks like that Nichols holding on to it, or Michael Guest that's holding on to the lead right now. Jimmy Mullis pushing him.
Sideways entering turn 1. That 33 of Michael Guest. I mean, these cars are getting loose. The tires are hot. These guys have more green flag laps, as you can see on the Blue Emu onboard cam for the transfer spot. Tom Abrabatis racing with Denny Hamlin, Gary Sexton. Really close racing. Jimmy Mullis, you can see sideways into turn 1. This is the most aggressive group we've had up front, Parker.
This has been some of by far the best racing throughout the top 15 that we've seen all night. And Denny Hamlin is wheeling and dealing, trying to get into that 11th position. He's been on the top. He's been on the bottom. He's been all over the racetrack trying to get to Tom Abramitis there. Just can't quite get the momentum. He does have that little bit of right front damage. The car in front of him has a little bit of rear end damage. As we look on board, Denny Hamlin, the top right corner of the screen. Man, he's trying everything he can. He just can't seem to quite get the momentum.
Going to be Michael Guest leading the outside lane for the time being. Jimmy Mullis in second, following in pursuit there. Garrett Pick nearly got a piece of the outside wall as they got into turn 3. That's going to stack up the outside lane. Jake Nichols will lose a spot or two there, put Joseph Galata up into the 3rd spot, taking advantage of that lost momentum. But here comes Pick, charging hard one more time on the outside. Parker, you see how quickly you can lose momentum, but equally how quickly you can get it back.
Yeah, we had a car just inside the top 10 there. Maybe ticked out that got forced down. It's basically exited the draft towards the pit lane. Don't think it was intentional by any means. Just sort of got too sideways, but held on to it. We stayed green. Now they're 3 wide maybe for that transfer spot. Denny Hamlin looks down low. There's a lap car there. Wow, that is tight.
Caution flag
the
going to
yellow's
fly
out.
here as we got, we got two spinning down the back straightaway. Fernando Sosa and that number 9 City Chevrolet up and over. It looks like he had contact. Oh my goodness, he got Ed Carpentered down the back straightaway by Paul Sutton in the number 19 Hartford Whalers machine. Cool looking scheme. Unfortunate driving there from the number 19 as they were fighting for around that 30th position. And for Sosa, was not expecting that as Sutton came down the track, turned him hard on the outside wall, and you know what? Parker put one up on the board.
Was it a blowover?
Yes, sir, it was.
All right, we'll count it as the Ventrac blowover count. That will be number 3 for the night. We'll continue this throughout the month as we love to see those blowovers. Although we don't like to see cautions, we don't want to see one wreck. They are kind of fun to see when someone does wreck. So we're counting it with the Ventrac blowover count. That should be number 3. So hey, 4 races, 3. We're almost at 1 per race. So not bad.
Pretty good little average right there.
One more restart, it looks like, for Denny to get one more shot at Abramatis. He was underneath. Denny was underneath him, underneath Tom there. Right when the caution came out, it had looked like he had a nose on him, but as you can see here, it looks like iRacing moved him back behind, so he'll remain in 12th.
Didn't quite trigger the timing lines, and we're going to get the look at the blowover. Oh yeah, that's definitely a blowover for Paul Sutton. All right, so was that Fernando Sosa? Sorry, Fernando Sosa. So that's Ventrac blowover count number 3. There we go for the month, for the 3 weeks that we're here in the Firecracker 400. So. That's, hey, we'll just keep count of them. If you want to follow along on the social media or in the chat, please do, using the hashtag Ventrac blowover count.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of wrecks too. If we've missed any, let us know.
Yeah, if your drinking term is caution, well, Godspeed.
But again, in all seriousness, big thanks to Ventrac for coming on board to sponsor the blowover count. Big appreciation to them and everyone else involved, INFRA as well. And we haven't really talked about them, Landon, Parker. I want to take an opportunity under this yellow, if we can, to talk about INFRA, who they are, and how they came to be a part of this great race.
Yeah, David, thank you. INFRA Resolutions really is a full-service IT solutions company, whether you're a company or an individual. They obviously, as iRacers, we got a lot of equipment, a lot of hardware that we need. INFRA can solve those problems for you. They've got a lot of equipment. They're a distributor for a lot of different brands and a lot of great products. So great to have INFRA on board, put together by a good team of guys up in Chicago that have helped me out a lot as well. So we've got a lot of good partners help put up the $12,500 purse that everybody is racing for. I feel like all this is so exciting, even with the cautions and everything. We haven't even talked about the money they're racing for, Parker. These guys are racing to get their money back. They paid an entry fee, and if they get that top 88, they're all gonna get their money back. And if they can win the 400-mile race on July 1st, it's $2,000 to win, but we have a $12,500 purse.
We mentioned, when you talk about the money, just making the top 43 out of this with 344 entries that started out in this. Basically, if you make that top 43, you're going to get $100 from a $25 entry fee. The Firecracker 200 pays $25 to start in 43rd and $500 to win. So this has got to be one of the larger payouts in terms of amount of cars getting paid out. Basically, the top 88 after all these prelims will get some form of payout, which is the way we want to design this to allow many people to feel like a winner in all of this and have a chance at a big prize. So we've so far some of this racing has been a bit of frustrating. It's been a bit of high contact, but there's a lot on offer, and you can't blame these racers for putting it all on the line when you've got such a big prize pool. And thank you to INFRA Resolutions, Trans Service, Big Green Egg. What do you got? Radius, Ventrac, all the companies that have come on board to help out to make this event possible. It's it's been really fun to watch.
Yep. It's a tough event, Parker. This is our last chance tonight to get a pro driver, a NASCAR driver in the field tonight. Denny Hamlin. We have not had a NASCAR driver transfer yet. So Denny needs to carry this home for us NASCAR guys. But Parker, You know, the money's great in this event. The sponsorship's great. It's not all about the money. We want to go back racing. So let's see Barney wave that green flag here pretty soon.
Yes, sir. Here we go. Possibly the final restart of the night here. It's going to be in the hands of Michael Guest as the big green egg. Green flag flies one more time from Barney, and Michael Guest is down away his eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competitor, and Jimmy Mullis pushing him along. Joseph Galata there in third, but here comes Garrett Pick. Look at the inside. Galata covers him off. Here comes the 11. Where did he come from? Andy Hunter. He was spun out nearly wrecking a few laps ago. Now charging to that fourth position, and all the way up to the lead goes Joseph Galata off of turn 2.
Racing want to restart. They're jiving for position all over the racetrack. Oh no, in the back, Denny Hamlin's gonna get spun. Oh, they keep it together, but he got turned on the backstretch in the transfer position. Devastation. Oh, that was our last chance to get a NASCAR driver through tonight and a real race car driver. Man, that's terrible. But we're still seeing green here. Riding on board with Andy Hunter. Man, that's devastating to see though in the back.
Looks like
that
Denny
was
just
a
made
three-wide move.
Looks like an aggressive move to the inside. He went to the outside, and it wasn't the right move. He needed to stay low. He had realized that when it was too late, tried to compensate. It seems like, oh, Denny, he was right there. But we got a great race up front. We got a great race with Gary Sexton in the transfer spot right now. Ford Martin's P10. I mean, this is a good group.
Getting down to it here. Welcoming everybody from Casey Kerwin's stream who just joined us with that raid. Thank you, Casey. You're watching the closing laps of the final INFRA Challenge 100 here at Daytona International Speedway. 11 drivers fighting out of 40 to get in to next week's 2-round qualifications for the Firecracker 400. As the top 11 here are going to include Gary Sexton at this point, with Joseph Jones breathing down his neck in that transfer spot cam you see out the back from Sexton looking at the front of Jones.
See, Ford Martin, I believe, in that Jack Daniels car just slid through the infield all the way through, joined the track again at the X of the Tribal, and didn't hit anything and kept it straight and going. That was one of the craziest moves I've ever seen. As we get back to the lead, Jimmy Mullis trying to hold off Galata there, side by side, but wow, that was an insane move. We got a replay here down on the right down there. They get all tangled up off Ford. They start spinning, and then you see down at the bottom there, it was the Jack Daniels car, I believe, Ford Martin, that went sliding through. Look at this rejoin. Wow. Keeps the thing. I mean, that's incredible. 10 out of 10.
Not sure why, but thank you, iRacing, for withholding the yellow flag there, Barney.
He did. He
couldn't do that.
Care of us.
That's a 1 in a million right there. That he couldn't do that again if he tried. But they are side by side throughout the top 10 as we get down to the end of this thing. Still no clear winner here as Galata shoots ahead out of 4. Mullis on the high side getting the push from Michael Guest. That high side, we've seen it be so strong, Parker. That's really been the one that gets the big push. The fight for the transfer spot is on between Sexton and Jones as well, but still side by side throughout the top 10. No clear winner in this group yet. They're racing hard.
Too, because this is basically, I just counted of this group right here, it's about 9 that separate themselves a little bit from that, as we get the caution out here. But, I mean, they separate themselves basically from that transfer spot, yet we're continuing to race side by side all the way through, knowing that, as we said before, you're just trying to transfer the top 11 to the rest, the next round of this event. But that was, it was great. It was a great show, so I'm not going to knock them for that, but it seemed a little bit risky at this time.
I think that may bring everything to an end. That may be the end of this race. It was Tony Brent back in the 18th position, car number 28, going into the corner. And again, like we've seen so many times tonight, car wanders up the track, right side hits the wall, shoots the car back hard left, sideways across the track. Single car incident is going to bring that great racing to an end, and is very unfortunate to see that is the way this thing is going to resolve itself. But it would appear for all intents and purposes that Jimmy Mullis was the first one back to the line, and Jimmy Mullis is most likely going to be declared the winner of this race. Remains to be seen if we reach that time limit, and we do not have any laps left. It is going to be Jimmy Mullis who gets the checkered flag in the 4th and final INFRA Challenge 100 here tonight. Remember, 4 more to go tomorrow to set the rest of the 88 driver field. That will kick off tomorrow, same time as it did tonight. at what time do we go? 8 p.m. Eastern time right here at twitch.tv/Landon Cassill, facebook.com/eracer on the eracer Facebook page, eracer.gg. Keep an eye on Twitter as well, but it'll be the same thing tomorrow. 4 more races, 40 laps, 40 minutes, whichever comes first. And a whole lot of action like we've seen here tonight. Unsure if this race is over. It would appear we may get one lap.
One more restart.
A one-lap dash for cash to settle this thing out.
I think we might here. So this is going to get interesting. We've got Gary
We just
Sexton.
need to focus on the transfer spot right for the end of this thing.
Gary Sexton there is in 11th. Joseph Jones is in 12th. Chris Whitaker is in 13th. Matt Dixon 14th. I mean, these are the guys that are going to be vying for that 11th position in one lap.
Well, if there's a lap that you're going to make the best one of your life, that's got to be it, right?
Yeah, exactly. This has got to be, well, it's not only the lap, it's the restart has to be best of your life, the getting through the gears, choosing the right draft there through the first corner and down the backstretch, and hoping they just do not get a run on you in some respects that you can hold on to it.
All right, Landon, here's the question for you. I'm going to ask both of you this question. I think we got time. So I'll start with you, Landon. You're the driver in that transfer spot, Gary Sexton. This is the most pressure-packed situation you could probably find yourself in. You know you've got to nail the restart, get up through the gears, defend your position. What is going through your mind, and how are you calming your nerves to make sure you can execute?
I don't know about trying to calm my nerves. I think I'm gonna think about if I'm Gary, what position do I want my car to be in relation to Joseph Jones behind me, and I don't think I want too big of a gap. You don't want him on your bumper, but if he's 3 or 4 tenths behind you going into turn 1, he can get a huge run on you down the backstretch, and it's almost indefensible. So you want him just close enough that you can kind of block just the right lanes. But I don't know. I'm not driving it. He is. We're going to find out here pretty soon as they come to 1 to go.
Parker, same question to you. How you doing it?
I liked everything Landon said, so I don't know if I can add to it. Well, I don't know if many sim races I've been in, such high pressure. The Pro Invitationals this year were the most high pressure, and I think about those restarts late. Richmond, I was up in the top 3 in a late race restart, and I was definitely nervous. So I feel this is very similar, and I think we're going to get 1 lap at it. So it's going to be a green and a checkered, I believe, or green, white, and a checkered. We got to see how this all shakes out, guys. We're gonna it looks like it's going to end. They're going to throw a green and a checkered, so they got to ride around, basically. But it's
all this build up for nothing then.
Yeah.
Oh, not nothing, David, because we have 4 more of these races tomorrow.
Well, I mean for this race, Landon. I mean for this race. You're right. Well, there you go. And you get into these situations with timed races. This certainly can be the way that it plays out. Sometimes you get that 1 lap, sometimes you don't. But it would appear that this is going to be the end of our 4th and final race here. We'll see. It's not official until it's official. And we'll hold all calls until that point. But it would appear that the next time that they cross the line, that will be it. It will be a green and checkered flag finish, which is the finish everybody hates to see.
Well, actually, we just extended the caution, so it basically will just enter under caution right here. Yeah, so we want to prevent any sort of mistakes on the timing score. We knew it was a possibility these races would end under caution. Good win to Jimmy Mullis.
The AJ rule.
What?
Call it the AJ rule.
Yeah. But well, I mean, look, the first half of this race was excellent. That was awesome. That's what we wanted to see all night, and I think it was a showing of, or at least a sneak peek of what we can expect in the Firecracker 200 and 400. And be sure to join us for all the qualifying nights next week, because that's going to be a pretty cool show. It's going to go to open setup, see who can trim their car out the most, hang on to it loose and sideways, and go out and get the pole and get to become the top 43 that'll make it to the Firecracker 400.
Well, it looks like they're going to circulate 1 more lap before they finish this thing off, Landon. But job well done for Jimmy Mullis. again, the guys that start up front stayed up front. That seems to be the key.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, track position was important, but you weren't safe. I would say that 7th to 15th place range, definitely not safe. You know, obviously we saw Denny Hamlin qualified 14th, ran up front the whole time, had himself in a transfer spot, but just got squeezed a little bit too tight when he took it 3 wide. And that happened just as easily up in 7th, 8th place tonight. We saw plenty of action, but Gary Sexton for Elliott Sadler Esports moving along to the next stage.
We'll let them finish this lap and circulate so we can get the official results here, put those up on the screen when they become available, and show you where everybody finished in this 4th race here tonight. An action-packed night here, and we'll get to those final thoughts in just a moment after this race is concluded. But again, Parker, I think that's a great observation that the first half of this race was probably the pinnacle of what we saw here tonight as far as the racing action went, as there's that green flag and there's that checkered flag at the same time. So we'll let everything sort through, but we can tell you that the top 11 at the very least will be locked in and moving on, and we'll get those results. Hopefully they don't change like they did on us last time, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be locked in where they are. And we'll go from there once we have the final results available. But for Mullis, he gets the win, something he's definitely accustomed to on big stages. And we talked about that as well. Drivers on big stages know how to get big wins. So Mullis gets the win. Joseph Galata, spirited drive. Fantastic job for him in 2nd. Michael Guest in 3rd. Garrett Pick, who led this race earlier, comes home in 4th. Andy Hunter with that big slide and recovery held onto it to finish in 5th. Jake Nichols in 6th. Briar LaPrade 7th. Garrett Conrath in 8th, Brian Mullen 9th, Tom Abramitis in 10th, and Gary Sexton gets that 11th and final transfer position, Parker.
Yep, and that's when we have to talk about the most heartbreaking position. That is 12th. Joseph R. Jones finishes 12th, just didn't quite find a way into the top 11 there. I hate it for him and anyone that was that close. Chris Whitaker, Matt Dixon, Brian Day in 15th, Robert Hall 16th, Noah Turpak in 17th, Aaron Owen in 18th, David Demarest 19th, and Dennis Field rounds out the top 20. Landon.
21st, Brendan Cooper, Luke Crutchfield, Ford Martin, 23rd, heartbreaker for him, our good friend Stephen Peer, Ken Soka, John Fix, Joseph Santero, Fernando Sosa with the blowover, Tony Brent, Paul Sutton in 30th.
31st is going to belong to Denny Hamlin. Unfortunately, he made that bold 3-wide move, and it didn't work out in his favor. So he comes home in the 31st position. Thomas McGregor in 32nd. Ross Brockman 33rd. All these cars were lapped down or out. Josh Lambert in 34th. Paul Wilson 35th. Colin Earl in 36th. Kevin Woods, Dad Gamer Swiss, unfortunate result there, 37th for him, but we still love him. Derek Conley in 38th. John Douglas 39th. Noah Lewis 40th. And John Elliott will round out the 41-car field here in the 4th and final race for the INFRA Challenge 100s tonight. And that'll set us up for tomorrow as we bring you back into the booth here for tomorrow. 4 more races, Parker. A lot more racing action to go, but a great start to the festivities, all leading up to the Firecracker 400 on July 1st. Your thoughts coming out of tonight?
Well, it's been an incredible amount of effort and work, getting all 344 entries here between Landon, myself, Joshua Mendoza, our whole team, our whole broadcast team. This has been a great kickoff to this event. I wish there was an ounce more green flag running, but you know what? There's so much up for grabs, and we've had so many people participating. You could expect a little bit of what we've seen, but hopefully for tomorrow night, a lot of those drivers that are racing tomorrow night, like William Byron, Ron Katz, that we're going to see out there. Hopefully, and those others and a lot of the sim racers are watching what they saw here tonight, taking notes and saying, all right, look, we got to get some green flag running, put on a show for the fans. But hopefully everyone enjoyed watching that. I enjoyed being here in the booth with you guys, and I'm just looking forward to tomorrow night and qualifying and getting towards that Firecracker 400, because I really think in the full fruition of this event, people are really going to enjoy the whole thing.
Yeah, the racing is going to be great as we move forward through qualifying, the open setups, no resets, 400 miles at this racetrack is going to be so exciting. Tomorrow night, like you said, Parker, the big names. We got Dale Jr. tomorrow night. He signed up. I hope he shows up. We need to get him here. He's signed up and ready to go. We saw him in the session here, getting a look at what's going on. For David Schildhouse, Parker Kligerman, I am Landon Cassill, and I want to raid a good stream. We got a heck of a viewership right now. Big following. Who are we raiding? I hope nobody cashed in any channel points for a raid, because I'm not going to do it. We're going to pick one. And I'm going to let the chat tell me who to rate here. That's right. Hall of Fame Dale is racing tomorrow.
I'll do this. While you pick out who you're going to raid, Landon, I'll give my final thoughts, and how about that? Does that work for you?
Go ahead, David.
All right. A great start to the entire. We can't call it Speed Weeks. That's, I think, trademarked at this point. But we'll think of a name to call the 3 weeks that's going to make up the racing coming your way. But really do appreciate all of you out there on Twitch, Facebook, and however else you found us coming out to support the event. We'll be back at it tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, right back here on all these same channels. And the three of us back in the booth, maybe with the same jackets, maybe with different jackets. Well, I only have one. Maybe with, no jackets at all. Different shirt, different tie. That's the requirement, boys. Different shirt, different tie. Don't come back with the same thing. But again, a big thanks to everyone in chat for participating. We hope that you enjoyed it. Big thanks to all the drivers who were out here tonight as well, who made time to come on and do an interview with us and race in this event. We'll do it again tomorrow. 4 more races. All the same stuff and lots of green flag racing hopefully coming our way. Big thanks to all the partners involved with this event as well, including INFRA for being the title sponsor of these Challenge 100 races, and Blue Emu and everyone else involved to make this whole event happen. So we look forward to seeing you all back here tomorrow. And Landon, if you've got somebody queued up, I guess we'll say
I'm ready. Thank you, guys. I've said it once. I'll say it again. For David Schildhouse and Parker Kligerman, I'm Landon Cassill, and I'm going to send you guys to the lean stream because Garrett Smithley is racing tomorrow night. He's going to race his way into this Firecracker 400, and he's practicing for it.
Lean.
Love you guys. Lean. Thank you, everybody. Everybody lean into the lean stream. Here we go. Sending you all that way. Parker, let's lean.
Are you sending it? What's going on?
I'm sending them. All right, there goes. All right.